Hello and welcome. This is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. This channel evaluates all aspects of true crime. As you are aware, videos and live streams in this genre often discuss elements of crime that may be disturbing to some viewers. If necessary, take the precautions needed to avoid these feelings. Factual information related to cases is the key to fostering rational true crime discussions. Fortunately, you will find that here. Please hit the like button only once, share the video, and subscribe if you like my content. Thank you very much for watching.
All right, freaks, we have on Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick, the legend. Like, literally, the legend. Okay, not like, oh, hey, I'm calling a friend a legend. I mean, she literally is.
Yeah, I'm a legend in my own mind.
She started Identifinders International, used to work at DNA, or she was one of the founders of the DNA Dope Project as well. And then she branched off onto her own. Identifinders International, was an actual rocket scientist at one point.
Yeah.
All right. And now she gallivants around the world, sharing her amazing knowledge in the forensic genetic genealogy world. Right?
Yeah, good? No pressure.
Okay. But anyways, yeah, so what's been kind of cool over the last, I don't know, 3 years or so, I think we've given you guys over $70,000 from the freaks here to do all these different cases. And, you know, it's just sort of a cool thing where there's these communities out there that don't have the funds to identify Jane and John Does or even crime victims, and we've been helping you guys do it, I guess, you know. I mean,
absolutely. We love the freaks. You know, we feel like the freaks have taken us under their wing, you know, the freak wing. And we're like nice and comfortable and cozy in the little, you know, underneath the mother hen there. And we're doing really good. And we really appreciate you guys and all the donations and stuff, you know. Yeah,
the thing is they you know, the freaks are always taking care of the channel, and then I donate a huge portion of the income at the end of each month to people like you. And we even have that scholarship fund that we just created. And it finally got
fantastic.
Funded. Yeah, it was fully funded now, and so now their students are already writing the letters and things. You know, so
I think that you know, I wish more people would do stuff like that. You know, we're you know, we were very grateful, and we have solved like the Bartow County and the Bibb County. Those were fabulous cases. Mm-hmm. You know, that you guys helped out on. I mean, imagine that. The Bibb County guy, God, 1961. Come on.
That's probably the quintessential one. It's hard to beat that one because it had all the element, like really emotional.
Yeah.
You know, the whole town loved this person they didn't even know, and they took care of him.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really tricky too because it's 1961. You know, it was really. And I remember when I called, you know, when Misty kind of found that case, and we said, "Hey, let's try and do it, whatever." So I called down there. You know, there's a phone number on the Doe network or something. So I called down, and this lady says something like, "No, this is the funeral home." I said, "Well, do you have the number of the coroner?" Well, yeah, he's the funeral director. Okay, so can we talk about this Bibb County case? Well, maybe, I don't know, because the original coroner died like 20 years ago. Yeah, okay, and it was kind of a slow start, you know, like, what case are you, the guy in the cemetery? oh yeah, I think, yeah, yeah, wait a minute. You know, it's kind of like, of all the calls in the world, why are you calling about somebody that died 60 years ago? Wait a minute. You know, they took him in, and then he said, well, you know, I wasn't the original guy. The original guy died a long time ago, and then this other guy took over. He was around a little while, and then he took over for me, and so we had to kind of organize kind of the thoughts on all of that, and we did it. And we got, I forgot, we had a tooth. Oh, I know what happened. The National Center for Missing and
Exploited
Children, NCMEC, they had already exhumed him a few years earlier, so they already had a tooth and some bones, that we could use. And then, okay, so we said, we'll do that. Thank you, Gray. We'll work on it. So we started, and they called down to University of North Texas, where everybody used to send their stuff. And University of North Texas was like, we did that, and we got no DNA out of it. Why do you want it? I said, well, I don't know. We're stupid. We're nuts. We don't know. So I send it over. We'll take a crack at it. So they sent it back to the medical examiner or coroner, because they had to do it that way. They couldn't just send it to us. And the rest is history. I mean, we kind of struggled a little bit because the DNA was so bad.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like there was a lot. We had to do that enrichment thing. That was an expensive case, but we were just going to keep plugging along, and we got it all worked. So.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of what the freaks help us, and you help us, and the freak helps, because these are cases that nobody would really ordinarily care about. That the poor teenager from 1961. I mean, who would? His family's still looking for him, and we didn't even know that.
Well, that was a weird one too, because at the end, I mean, one of his brothers was still alive, I guess, living in Florida, and he came out to the press conference and everything, and then we learned that another brother from the exact same time frame, he disappeared too, but nobody knows where he is currently.
Yeah. Well, the last that anybody heard, it was like 1963 in Florida, and after that went silent. So we don't know if he died, or because his social security number hasn't registered anything. That's the thing. So I kind of think he passed away, but it's hard to say. I mean, you don't know. You may turn up as another Doe case somewhere. Yeah,
I was going to say, wouldn't it be just insane? Like, out of all those other Doe cases that we do, it pops up and it's the brother. I mean, my God, that would be. I don't even think you could make a movie about that one. That would be.
Listen, we're getting so many weird things like that happening.
Yeah.
That's the next one. That you get two Does that are related, or two serial killers that one's in Florida, one's in California, and independent people are working on it, and they're brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
Separated at birth.
So, do you have any? I don't know if you plan on that, but if you could update any updates on what we're doing now, or.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Let's see what we were doing. Let me look at my cheat sheet. Hold on.
I did show them that one that we talked about.
We have one. The Medina's coming out. That's the. They found that, they didn't know if he was male or female.
Right.
It was male.
Yeah, it's weird because they referred to, like, he's missing a bra, but he was wearing men's clothing, so I'm not really sure what made him think he was missing a bra.
I think he was wearing women's clothes. I think some of it could have been women's clothing. And then there was a little bit of a discussion, was there a brassiere there or not? Some people said yes. The records weren't really, up to date. And so we... so that one is going to come off the oven like any day now. All the data's ready. We're just waiting for them to, say, hey, raise their hand, say, can we send the data to you, or can we upload it? So
so that one's already been, like, the DNA was extracted. You got a viable sequence, it sounds like, because they were able to send it to bioinformatics, and now it's like it's being uploaded to like GEDmatcher, and it's in that phase, right?
Yeah, any day. Any day we're going to put it
Any day now, you guys, just upload the damn thing, would you?
Yeah, the guy's finished the bioinformatics, like he's tying it up. You have whatever he does. He takes a few days, but any day.
But he says it looks, like it's going to make it through that, right? Okay.
Yeah, because that was, that's not like bones that were laying in the sun for 10 years. Those are, that's actually, I forgot what year it was, but it was in good shape. So.
And this is a homicide victim, I think, because there was.
He was shot. Yeah. He had buckshot in his head.
He or she, we don't really know yet, right?
No, it's a male.
Oh, it is a male. Okay.
Yeah, we know that much. So, I should have a report for you, and we'll touch base with you, Gray, even if, we're not on the show that night. We will touch base and give you kind of a, fuzzy warm on, kind of fuzz over what was going on, give you a kind of overview and update. So that one's going to be really interesting, to figure out what was going on. What was that story?
And and then I guess the other one, the one that, freaks are like it's in between the coolness of almond trout, but like the one in Vermont,
Yeah.
So that one's kind of in the last gasp effort stage with a new technology, right?
Yeah, that's at IMF, and it's just we're waiting for them to do the intelligence, which will happen. I'd say today is by the end of the month.
But there'll be an attempt at it, probably for sure, right? It's gonna, whatever they do, and then it's up to Misty to try to use whatever that technology is to try to figure out the relatives, right?
Yeah, well, now this is intelligence, and this was donated. That's why we've really gone the extra mile with Vermont trying to extract DNA, and we didn't get that much, but what happened was IMF said, let's try one more time. We'll donate a intelligence kit to you. And we go, okay, if it's free, hey, we're there. So it's really good for, low-level DNA for really contaminated bacteria and stuff. Well, that's the problem. It had a lot of bacteria. So intelligence can come in and pick out the bacteria, get rid of it and pick only the human stuff out.
That would have been interesting to try that in almond trout. Like how well would that have worked, Because remember, that was what the problem was at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, there's ups and downs on intelligence. I'm a little concerned because intelligence usually fishes out really close relatives. They're really good at that. And these people from Vermont, died in the 30s. So you're not going to have a brother or a sister. Let's say probably would not have a brother and a sister. I think we're doing one of the kids, I think. Or the kids, and I think
I think it was the kid, because that would lead right to the parent, anyways, right there.
Yeah, let me see which one it was, if I can just dredge it up right away. But yeah, so the thing is that in that case, I'll look it up later. In that case, that's we're not going to get a real close relative. However, intelligence does provide us with, say, lesser confidence matches that we can look through, because even though it's less confidence, some of them are worth it. So we'll let you know. That's going to be like a new interesting thing for us. We did another one that I don't think I can talk too much about, but intelligence worked really well for us. So I'll fill you in on that, but that should be, again, what's really good is that we have cases like, in different stages. So that's where I wanted to get it, where we could talk about Medina, say, next week, and then 2 or 3 weeks from now, then we have Vermont, then a couple of weeks after that, we'll have, there's other ones in the, let's see, in the hopper. Let's see, there's, the one I would really
There's a child
like.
one, a baby or something in one of them.
Yeah, there's Wyoming. Let me see where it is.
See what I'm saying, everybody? We are a channel that makes a difference, not one of the ones that just sits there and stares.
You do. Yeah, you do. Right. I think it's the one from Michigan. That it's just the genealogy part, and that one is that one again. I think is intelligence, but it's the lab put that kind of lower down because first of all they're doing it for free, and they had a couple other homicides come in. So the next one, I say, well, we got Medina, we got Vermont. The next one will be, let me see. There's one party girl.
Misty said Wyoming doe or something in there.
Yeah, Wyoming is the baby, I think.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the one that it's been, kind of pushed back in the queue because they had a couple of homicides come in.
Now, let's pause really quick. Hey, right there in the chat, Misty Gillis.
Is she there?
a star forensic genetic genealogist, and she's the
Oh,
one.
there she is.
She's the one that solved
Okay.
the Armentrout case, and a whole bunch of famous ones that you've seen in the
Hi,
news.
Misty. Hi. She was messing with her kids, so she couldn't actually sit in, but she's there on chat, which means she can go chase after the kids if she needs to in the meantime, and then she'll come back.
She's like a savant of FGG.
Yeah. There she. Yeah,
Do,
she's good.
do people try to
See?
pilfer her away from you sometimes?
I hope not. She.
Come on, Misty.
Hey.
Come on, give it up. What's going on in the background?
No,
here?
she does. She freelances, so
Yeah.
she's got some moonlighting stuff going on with the adoption searches, and
Right.
she's popular. She gets requested to be on, on what you were in 2020, Misty.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
the
saw her
Baby
on there.
Holly case. Yeah,
saw her on there.
that's like a gem. She was on 2020 about that. I mean, if you haven't seen it, y'all should catch it. It's really good. And she's asked to. She comes and presents with me on that. We were down in Texas, and by request of the how about this? At request of the Texas State Attorney General, we attended a conference on that case, and we sat in and pontificated on all the weirdness of that case. So there you go. Aren't we something?
There you go. Yeah, our biggest one with you guys is Armentrout. That's probably one of her top ones too, but that's not the quintessential one. You had that crazy case with the mother and father who they were in like a cult, and then the baby shows up. Is that the Baby Holly one? Is that?
Yeah,
one?
that's Baby Holly.
Oh, okay,
That's
yeah.
Baby Holly. Let me see if I have pictures. I think I have pictures of the Armentrout. Hang on. If anybody wants to see them, let me get to them. Yeah, I have. Let me get to them. I gave a talk on that down in Texas, but hang on, because I'll show the freaks. It'll touch everybody's. Touch everybody. Where are we? Where are we?
No, there's pictures with Misty with the brother near the grave and everything.
Have you've seen those?
Yeah, a long time
that's
ago.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to show you, but so you don't have to look at them, but
Well, no, go ahead. Well, I have to
just
look
a
at
minute,
him.
let
I'm
me
doing
get-
the show.
let me get to the right place because I gave a talk, and just a minute. Let me get to the right slide.
Hey,
Okay.
freaks, if you're out there, freaks, don't forget to help support the channel. Well, that's what we're doing here.
Absolutely.
It helps
I'll
keep me
just show
going
you
and
pictures
allows
of
me
this.
to donate at the end of the
Here we are.
month. All right, let's see them.
Okay, here
Which
we
one you
are.
got?
Here's I'll share my screen. I'll show you the pictures of the celebration. See, that's Misty. Hey, it's already. Can you believe it's 2 years?
Hey, all of a sudden
Over
it
2
turned.
years.
Wait, do I
See,
have,
that's.
hey, I think I have to
Can you
I have to change something up to see those. Hold on a second.
Well, you see if you do it. If you can't,
There we go.
we'll
There we
just.
go. I'll have to move it down. So
You
I'll
see,
have to
that's
fix it.
Misty. She went down because this was during Christmas, and I had just come back from who knows Mars maybe, and I just couldn't get on a plane to go back east. This was in Alabama, in Bibb County. That's the new stone. You see Daniel Paul Armentrout. That's the old one. It was really kind of worn out. It's rained on and worn out,
Mhm.
and it had an unknown boy, unknown, and the date of the car accident. And you see the new stone. And let's see what else. This is Donald. This is
Yeah.
Danny's middle brother.
He does look
the
kind of
middle
like
brother.
him. I mean, he's got the ears that stick out a little bit and everything. Like you see him in the picture.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, so that's the bridge you went off of there, right?
Oh yeah, it must be. Misty can type in the chat there, but this is Donald and Tara, his wife, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I never realized that's probably the bridge, right there.
Yeah.
And the guardrail.
Because
I thought it was like
apparently,
guardrail.
so what happened, everybody, if you're new here, is he was hitchhiking, and his car went off of a bridge into the water. The driver lived, but he didn't know the victim's name who died in the car, which was the hitchhiker. And they had RY plus love scratched on his arm. He had a photograph of a woman, all these different things, and I'm not a woman, like a girlfriend or something like that.
I'll show you. Yeah. Wait a
Where-
minute.
where-
You stopped sharing.
All of a sudden,
Let
I
me-
can't see your screen.
Well, wait. You wanted to. I have a picture of him and the stone, and
Okay.
everything. You're talking about all that. Hang on, hang on. Oops, I overshot. You're talking about stuff, and I have actual pictures of that. Oh, here we are. Hang on, hang on.
Is it going to show up again?
You will.
I don't see your window anymore.
There we are. Okay, I got to share now. I got to share again. Because you were talking about, you know, that's the stone.
Oh, there it is.
See, wait a minute. See, look, this is the.
Let me move it over. Hold on. Let me move it over. Oops, wrong thing.
See, it looks like he's sleeping.
Yeah, don't take it off yet. I gotta fix it. Yeah, I mean, it's actually, he looks peaceful in this picture here, and nobody could identify him, even with an amazing image like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's 1961. Oh, this is what they did. They put it in the paper. You know, that's what you did. And, you know, it talks about all the things in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about, I'll
tell you, one of the things that was really one of the best things I have was the PDF file that was the FBI document on it. It had all those pictures right there, and then a really in-depth breakdown of everything.
Mm-hmm. That's where it happened, in rural Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
You see, in the middle of Alabama.
Yeah.
And then that's all the stuff in his pocket, and so they could, and I circle that because that's talking about the picture of his girlfriend he had. Think of me always and remember how we used to go places together. You know, he had pictures of the girl and RY plus love in his arm.
Mm-hmm.
He actually scratched that. That's not a tattoo. And but you know what? That was it.
Yeah, it was such a cool thing. It was neat. I got to be in that press conference. That was like, I think it was COVID times. It was like 18 people on the screen. You know, that big.
That's the exhumation.
Oh wow! Okay.
From Nick, and then that was and that's like 8 years ago. And then here's the teeth. You see, this is like, you can see that's a tooth.
Mm-hmm.
That's the teeth we sent down, and that's part of his leg. Part of the tibia, and that's where we got all that DNA from. They couldn't get any DNA, but we did because we're smart. We're smart people.
Yep.
And we got 46 times the amount of DNA we needed. And they got nothing. Thank you, freaks in gray, both of you guys. I mean, everybody. You know, that you got to ponder that. You know, that tooth, that boy, let's see, he was 16, so that was like 1945. You know, this is like, you know, think about yourself, you know, all the DNA, and maybe 50 years after you die, somebody's going to find it and they're going to know who you are. You got to ponder stuff like that.
Yeah, so keep your teeth clean, everybody.
Yeah, right.
I'm just
so then I wanted to show, wait, let me get back.
Are you sharing your, I can't see you anymore, though. That's the weird part.
I know, but I don't want to go through the whole talk.
Oh, there you are. You're up there.
You know? I'm going to be back, but I didn't want to go through the whole talk. I just want to show you the pretty pictures.
Okay.
Here's Misty again.
Okay.
By the time I give this, when I give this talk, people are starting to cry at this point. And that's Misty, and you see the old stone in the back, and you see the new stone with his name, and that's Donald. I showed you. It must be the river, and I thought that would be metal. You know, I thought the car hit some guardrail. It's metal, but it looks like it's cement or concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't remember. This is like the mayor.
That photo doesn't even look real because of the way it's just a really short, narrow range of focus. I mean, it almost looks like they're put there, you know.
Yeah, but, I see what you mean. Yeah, well, that's the gang, and that's Tara, and the state legislator is the lady with the blue coat. So everybody, and that's, I have everybody crying because I'm talking about, at this point, I normally talk about how hard it was to do this. I mean, I give a 5 or 10 minute, 15-minute talk, but behind that talk is days and hours and so much sweat, you know, and concern. And then I give a 5-minute, 10-minute talk. So I always say, you know, it's very, very tough. I'm telling you the easy stuff, but this is why we do what we do. You know, this is the devotion. You know, this is the meaning of all the hard work. This is important. And, you know, then I always thank you and stuff. And so,
yeah. Well,
You know, and then Donald, you know, that how else would he have known what happened? And then I always end something like this.
Well, that last picture was good.
Yeah, you mean
Well, when she was hugging that one.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, I always end with that part of the talk with this, and everybody's crying. Everybody's sitting in the front row trying to hold back, you know. So it's really it's I'm not stating it. That's exactly
she said,
right.
"Did you tell Gray we'll be announcing another freak-funded case soon?" I don't think so.
I didn't say that. I didn't tell him that.
Is that something I can't know? Okay.
We haven't got to that yet, but we have another announcement in the pipeline.
Oh, well, there you go, man. That's pretty cool. Is it cool?
I'll text you which one.
Okay.
I'll text you. Let me text you, and then so we can tell you, but you know, we can't until the agency allows us. We can't. You know. Let me take this off the screen so I can actually talk.
Okay, I'm gonna slide you back down and get you centered again.
I'm gonna fish for certain information. Don't put me on the screen.
Well, you're on the screen, but you just don't share your screen.
Yeah, don't show what I'm saying. Okay, here we are. I must have moved it. Oh, I did. Hold on. Oh, that's easy.
How about you just tell me, send it after the show. You don't have to do it right now.
Yeah, okay, I can do it after the show.
Don't worry about it.
That's
pretty awesome, though. It's one of the ones that we funded, but we just didn't know that you were, where we were in that one.
Well, we couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
You know that sometimes the agency. I'm text you.
Is it an interesting one at all, or just kind of?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. All right, you guys. Boom. Hey, thanks, Sandy Shirley. Thanks, everybody, for helping support the channel in there.
Yeah. Here we go.
So, Misty, do you think it's interesting? Let's see.
You got that, Gray?
Oh. Let's see. Is that one that... Oh, so that's one we've done, though, right?
Yeah.
But like it's already been done, but it's going to be able to be announced. Is that what the deal is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. All right. Yeah, I mean, that's been a while. So finally, I didn't realize it was ever going to... Sweet.
We didn't either. But Misty stayed on top of it.
That's
Here's
awesome.
another note for you.
Yeah, that one is interesting. Oh, do you?
Yeah, there you go.
Misty said we have a special shout out to you guys in the press release. Sweet.
Yeah, we do. We put it in there. We have a special note.
Yes, I know that. Okay, I'm at
You
that
got
one.
you
That
got
one
you got the
I mean, we've discussed that one. I never knew the name or anything like that, but
yeah. So we'll have an announcement. We'll put a big shout to you guys.
When do you think this might take place?
Within the next few days. We already have the press release done. We just had to send it up the chain of command, so to speak.
Oh, that's
They're
awesome.
checking the grammar and making sure we don't color outside the lines, but
Well, awesome.
So we always do that. We always do that. So that's another big win. Another big win.
Yeah, it's going to be another name to add to the list. Let's see. Well, thanks, Dan and Michelle there. Okay, so how about this? So now, I mean, we don't have to do any more updates because I think we're just, let's just do the ones we're close to. We don't need to hear about like, hey, this other one we're in.
Yeah.
They're almost extracting something. I mean, okay, well, that's like 2 years away from, not 2 years, but months away from.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know, but those two. Medina is coming up,
Yeah.
and then the Vermonts we'll know something. Now, the Vermonts are pretty tough, so we're hanging in there as best we can.
I think if there's anybody, though, that can make something work, it'd be Misty, don't you think? I mean, don't you believe that, though? I mean, seriously? Like this, if it's some kind of because apparently they trained her on this one technology, so
yeah,
you can do it. And Misty, if you can't get it done, it won't be because you aren't the best. It's because it wasn't good enough. It
was
DNA.
too hard even for the best.
Right. Einstein couldn't have done it. Okay. Yeah. So anyways, there's a lot of people out there that are confused in the Brian Kohberger case about the DNA, right?
Yeah, I'm confused. Everybody's confused. They're doing that on purpose.
No, but the thing is, it's touch DNA on the button, the buckle of the knife sheath, okay? But if you think about it like this is how I try to tell people is there's a car driving around the neighborhood that is missing its front license plate, a white Elantra that he drives, and it's driving around the neighborhood, and he admits that he was driving around, and it actually goes back behind the apartments, and it sits there between 4:08 and 4:20, in which time all 4 of the victims were murdered, and then they found a knife sheath on a bed that matches the DNA of the owner of the vehicle that was driving around, right? So how would they collect the, so for me it's 100%, like Brian Kohberger is the guy. So when you're, how do they go about collecting the DNA off the knife sheath first? Like they go in there and...
I wasn't there.
But in general, how they do it.
What they do is they have sterilized gloves.
Yeah, and they use a swab.
And this is how they do, I know how they do the cigarettes. They reach out and they pick up the cigarette with the sterile gloves and they pull the glove over and they tie a knot in it.
Oh, really? That's kind of interesting.
So that the cigarette can't get out and the germs can't get in. The foreign DNA can't get in.
So how about like when they got the knife sheath and then they probably swabbed all around trying to look for something?
Yeah. Because it was, what you look for is items that are introduced into the crime scene by somebody else. And that knife was probably piece number 1, item number 1. What's the knife doing there? Wait a minute, it's under one of the victims. Oh, that must be...
What's a knife sheath? Because if we don't fix that right now...
Oh, knife sheath, yeah. They said, well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that, so the crime scene people know what to do with that. They know, okay, that looks out of place. You look for things that are out of place. Mm-hmm. You look for things that are introduced into the, if there's a blindfold, okay, that came from somewhere else. If it's not associated with my jacket or my socks or my pantyhose, the guy brought it with, you look for things like that. And that knife sheath wasn't something that would normally be found in a college college dorm room.
And you might swab other places that are something that the killer might have touched, and it would be directly related to the killer. Like if somebody was sexually assaulted, maybe a belt buckle on the
right.
victim or something.
You're right, the clips on somebody's clothes. Yeah, and that's what, because the clip is the number 1 item. First of all, the thing's out of place. Okay, oh my God, it's a knife sheath. So you do the glove thing, and you pick it up with sterile gloves or whatever, and then on that, the 1 item on that knife sheath is going to be the buckle. That's the first thing you go. And then after that, you would maybe swab the leather or somewhere else, but the buckle is number 1.
And it's worded where they found 1 single source of DNA, which could mean that there's mixtures on the knife, and those are really hard to separate. You can almost, if it's 50-50, it's almost impossible, right? Yeah, right. Technology is probably developing where we're going to...
Yeah, there's people working on that. It's called probabilistic genotyping, for all you guys that have a dictionary handy right there. And there's a lot of work being done. If it's, a lot and a little, the mixture is that much compared to that much, you can see which one is which. But and then if you have more than that, more than 2 people, it gets really kind of worse. So, what they can do with that, though, is they can exclude people because, if they look for my markers and they're just simply not there, I'm not in the mixture. They can do stuff like that already. Mm-hmm. And so probably what happened is a lot of that stuff in the, if whoever did this was, protecting himself, whatever, even he, may have, touched a sheet or something, the chance of being a mixture is extremely high because the people are in that room every day, right? Making the beds, putting their clothes away, opening and closing the drawers, and DNA persists. DNA can be around on drawers and knobs and stuff forever. for days. I mean, if you went in your kitchen, I've heard somebody swabbing a kitchen and all the cabinets, and people hadn't been there for a while, and the DNA's been there. DNA didn't go anywhere, and so it gets kind of complicated because so many people have been in, and then you're in a dorm room, right? Your friends come in, your friends leave, you eat pizza, you go away, you change your clothes, you get up and you study, whatever you do, and there's a lot of activity from a lot of people in there, and so the thing is, that's why they looked, okay, the knife didn't look too, kind of strange there, and then that's why they tried the clip, because, who else would have touched that clip except the person using the knife?
Right.
You're not going to have unless, somebody rolls over on it or something, but, that's number one, and you would expect of everything in that room, that would be the item that would not have a mixture. Number one, that might not have a mixture. And so that's what happened. They found that one item, that one clip, and then it didn't have a mixture. So that's what happened.
So they got the sample off of the knife, and then they loaded up into CODIS to see if it matches anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And then it didn't match anybody, but they were able to determine it was a male. So then maybe you could describe. Now it's the FGG portion, because it was a rapid FGG. It was funny because we had Misty on, and I said, before they even did this, and I said, what would it take for the FBI in a case like this to do rapid forensic genetic genealogy? And we talked about it for a while, and she got it down to maybe like 2 or 3 days to get it uploaded. If you just wiped out every single thing else that you were doing and put it to the top of the line to get the sequence, and it passes everything, gets into bioinformatics, and then boom, you upload it. Right. So.
Yeah. Well, what you're doing is it's sort of what I would do. I don't know if I don't know. I don't have any definite information. So let me just give my spin. It's if I saw something like this happen and they had a couple of items and they were going to test it at the crime lab, I would start the genealogy in parallel, and the crime lab would take maybe a week. 10 days, depending on their backlog, depending on, the holiday.
But if you could wipe out the backlog, so that's what I'm saying. When I was talking to Misty, forget the backlog. It's just thrown to the front of the line, you see. And
in crime lab, I'm saying, you are correct. But I think it would, I think it would, let's say it's not a day. I mean, I've seen a crime lab turn something around in a day or so, or two, I mean, because you have thermal cycling, you have to treat the DNA, and sometimes sometimes the thermal cycling, if I remember, takes 12 hours, 10 hours. So it's not just people, scrubbing things and heating things up on the line to dry and waiting for it to dry. You have certain process. You've got a thermal cycle to make the DNA copy itself enough so you have enough and stuff like that. So, it might take, I'd say 2 or 3 days, really, if you started and said, on your marks, get set, how fast can you do this DNA? It's still going to take, 2 or 3 days because of the process. You have to, so you're up against, when you do the genealogy, you have the same thing, is that you have to run a batch of samples. You can't run one, because it's so expensive. So you have a batch of, I forgot how many, like 8, 16, 32, it's something like that. Like 16 maybe. And then you have to run, so even if you don't have quite a batch, you might want to run it anyway because it's an important case. So you take the extra cost of having an empty slot, or you hurry and get some more, you know what I'm saying? You just, so if you really, you would never say, I think in a crime lab you can run one or two or few at a time if you got the extract. But I think I know genealogy, you need to have a batch to run it. Even if you say had one, you could run 16 and you only wanted to run one, that's going to be 16 times the cost, right? So you have a little bit of traffic cop, DNA traffic cop there, but I think you could do it. It's definitely within a week, probably within a few days, but you have to have that CODIS profile first. That's the rule, sort of, that people follow. You have the CODIS, and so you have the crime lab versus the FGG. You want to have them kind of competing with each other with the amount of time it takes. You don't want one of them to take 3 months and the other take 2 days.
And they're completely different situations. I mean, CODIS is just, the 20 markers, right? STR, like you take the same 20 segments of each person you put in there, and there's where you get the odds. Like there's certain combinations that are like, wow, only 1 in 10,000 have this one. And then the second marker, oh wow, only 1 in 6 have this one, and ding ding ding. Then that's how you get the 1 in 27 octillion.
They're independent, so you multiply them.
So you multiply each time. So anyways, there's 20 of those. And by the way, everybody, the stuff that I'm saying is all stuff that she's taught all of us over the years.
Okay, why should all be wrong? It's not a problem.
I mean, she's really, it's crazy. So anyways, so once they got the FGG going, they upload it. Let's not talk about, we don't need to talk about, well, they might have used this weird backdoor method. That doesn't really, that has nothing to do with this. It still generated a lead. So what happened is they get it into GEDmatch and so forth, and then they did the family tree, and then it led to Brian Kohberger, actually, right? And then I think they used that and figured out where he lived, but then they went to surreptitiously gather trash, and it turns out that he had been, I don't know if you heard this part, but it's crazy. He'd actually stayed up late at night, and he would sit in the kitchen and go through the garbage can and pull out anything related to him while wearing latex gloves. You don't think that makes somebody look guilty? But anyways, he's pulling them out. So
I do that all the time.
Yeah, so when they checked the garbage can, they only found the family's DNA. His DNA wasn't in the garbage. It was in the neighbor's garbage can. So when they pulled it out, it had a father match. So yeah, and so that was enough to get the warrant to get his DNA, and then it was a 1-to-1, 100%, 1 in 5.7 octillion to 1 that it wasn't his, which is.
You think it's him?
Which is crazy, everybody. Guess what? That is. What did I come up with? It's 1. You'd have to have something like what's the number after quadrillion? No, maybe I think it is. Yeah, the number after quadrillion is
I only have 10 fingers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you'd have to have that many planet Earths with 8 billion people on each one of those planets, and then you might have one person that matched. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. So what do you think the problems might be in a case like this?
Well, the discussion, let's say. Now, I can't say it's a problem or not because I'm not really embedded in the whole story here. But let's say the discussion is, how much to reveal in the discovery, whether to release the genealogy or not, and how much of the genealogy is available to the prosecution, and whether, the defense should have it or should not have it. Should they do it in camera with the judge? So I think that's where we are. I have not read anything recently, but that's sort of a discussion which will set, I think, a precedent on how other cases are handled and where the genealogy goes, how the genealogy supports those cases. Is it I think after a while, I will say that no matter how this is resolved, it will become standard practice. If the genealogy is allowed, well, it's going to be allowed. If it's not allowed, then, they'll not allow it. They'll not reveal it. So I don't think they'll do it publicly. I don't think they'll say, hey, this is what we did. This is to match his names and stuff.
Yeah, well, the judge seems to have ordered them to produce the tree or something to the defense team. I don't know if they need to produce the work product behind that, like how they got there. I don't know. I
don't think so. As long as you have the tree.
And she wasn't yawning because it was a boring show. She's just tired. She works hard all day.
No, I'm sorry. It's Friday night. I'm old. This is Friday night. It's not the company. It's like I go to bed at 6 o'clock at night. I'm so old.
Yeah, you and Misty go to bed. You guys go to bed so early. I mean, you get Misty on here at 7 and she's passing out already. I mean, it's come on.
Well, it's 9 out by her. She's in a different time zone, so we have to forgive her. But she's got 3 kids, so she's older than me. But
I think this is I want to talk more about this right here because this is where it all the people that are like pro-burgers, we call them, they think Kohberger's innocent. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. But they are so into trying to. I mean, the defense is trying to throw out the DNA because of maybe they aren't being able to. They weren't able to see the work product or something, and also maybe that the FBI used some non-conventional techniques, maybe using the GEDmatch loophole or the, perhaps using, what's that other agency that allows...
Oh, MyHeritage?
Yeah, MyHeritage allows raw data upload. And you can, so... Well, how would would that cause a...
What is talking about it?
No, but the thing is they keep... That's been out there, but here's the thing is it illegal? Or is it just sort of like, hey, man, these guys came up with a crazy... this is a lead, it still matched the DNA, right?
No, guys, look, doing that is not, it's not illegal.
It's just
it's not illegal. It's more disruptive than illegal. It's more, ethics than legalities. So, and it's a place, here's the deal is, the law enforcement, they make all the rules, the laws that we all obey, whatever. Okay, something's legal, something not. But the people that are really running the show and have those databases, they're not in the legal profession. They're companies that have that control the terms of service. So if somebody decides to violate the terms of service, you can't do anything, because how can you do anything? You can't arrest them for somebody for or take legal action because they violated the terms of service.
I mean, maybe there's a civil issue there, maybe, right? Like
right. You have all the legal stuff. Don't do this. Don't kill anybody. Don't ram your car into your neighbor, because you don't like him. Don't shoot him. All that stuff is legal. Fine. But if you upload incorrectly, let's say to GEDmatch, outside of the terms of service, you violate those terms of service. Oh well. What are you going to do?
Yeah. And what's interesting to me is like all you're doing, you've really kind of made me see it that way over the years. It's a lead, but obviously it's one of the greatest leads in the history of mankind. But it's a lead, right? So you're giving it to the police officer, then they have to go out, the detectives, whatever, and they go around and they have to verify: does this make sense? Where was this person? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then one of the last things they do is probably go collect a sample surreptitiously in a garbage can. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, well, like we did with Roxanne Wood, we had Patrick Gillum on our radar. We turned his name in, whatever we did. Okay, there's Patrick. He had two brothers. The other brothers were really okay guys. This one had been just out of prison when he murdered that woman. So where was I going with that? Forgot. Oh yeah. So that gave the police enough probable cause to go out and collect a cigarette from him. They did check his background. So you're right. You did check the background. You did check that they did check that he had been in the area, that he lived close by and he had this record. And so I'm a little bit, I keep getting confused at this point. I think that would be the probable cause to go and collect that cigarette. And once they have the cigarette, they take the DNA and they compare it to the crime scene. They don't compare it to the CODIS. They compare it to the crime scene to see if that guy was there. And then they can go arrest him if it matches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting how the genetic genealogy comes in, and then they start looking up, does this guy make sense? And then they can go, if they collect the DNA sample in the garbage can, and then you get it, and then I think you either compare that to the original or CODIS, whatever the hell they're going to do.
No, you don't. You compare it to the crime scene.
The crime scene, so CODIS, the original.
Yeah, CODIS is what you check first. See if it's in CODIS.
Right.
Check it.
Okay.
Not there. Okay, then you go to the crime scene. See, there's actually two samples. You go and you get a surreptitious sample, like from a cigarette, and you say, oh my God, it matches the crime scene. So then you go out and you arrest the guy, and when he comes to you interview him, you interrogate him, but if he gives a DNA sample that's filmed, that's the second DNA sample, and that is videotaped, it's barcoded, it's all in the system, and that is what's used in court.
Right, that's when
To
they
show
take
that
his
it's compared to the
swab.
crime.
When they take his swab, right?
Yeah, in the police station.
Mhm.
That's the one that goes to court.
Mhm.
That's the one,
Right.
and they compare that to the DNA at the crime scene. And they, because if you go and get a cigarette, let's hope it's his cigarette. You've got to arrest him, bring him in, and do it again to make sure you've got the right guy with the right DNA.
Yeah, and then yeah, so I was just thinking, so they get the DNA from. Let me just try to. I was trying to picture. I was trying to word it differently, but now I can't remember what I was going to say.
Go ahead and say it. It's 2 DNA samples and.
2 DNA samples. Yeah, so they still tell the whole story in court, though. Like they say, yeah, then we went and found a sample in his garbage can, and then we compared that, and then there was a match. So that was enough to get a warrant, maybe even to arrest the guy. And then in that process, you get a warrant to get swabs. They usually take multiple swabs, of the cheek.
Yeah.
And then they get a DNA sample, compare it back to the original, and now it's just, he's already been arrested anyways. But if it doesn't match at that point, you would be like, oh, shit, but that would probably never happen. I mean, what are the odds that you're the trash?
Okay, wait.
Well, if you had trash that
No.
matches, it'd be hard not to.
Yeah. I'm saying that they usually don't pull all this into the trial. That's all already filtered out by the time you get to trial. They just concentrate on the DNA. What is the odds it's him? It's 1 in 5 billion octillion to 1. And then the DNA analysts say all that, and then they talk about, was he in the area? The car. In Kohberger's case, they probably talk about the car, about the videos, about, seeing him, about his cell phone, all that other stuff. But the DNA is really the big deal. And then, by the time you get to trial, they try and streamline everything. So you tell exactly what you want to say in front of the judge. You don't pull in all the story from the beginning, And in the case of Roxanne Wood, what was really weird was this just went on because they knew who it was. They went to go to the police station to get all the records, about his prior arrest and everything. And the police station had burned down, so they couldn't get that. So then they went to the court docket, and they saw the list of the documents and what the court had, which was a small fraction of the investigation that had burned down. And then they saw the name of the police officer that had arrested him the first time in the first rape homicide he had committed. Actually, the victim survived, so it was just a real bad rape. And the story was the police officer who arrested him was very cooperative, and what he said was, made a random traffic stop one night, noticed there was a purse on the seat next to Mr. Patrick Gillum with a woman's purse with ID, asked to see it, called the house where the address was on the ID, and they said, well, this woman was just raped and almost killed, and took him into custody. That was just an accident. They caught him. Accident, because the guy, just random traffic stop. So then when they went to go, arrest him and everything, they got to get that surreptitious sample. Well, the guy went out to get it, and he came back, it didn't match. And everybody went bonkers because half of the police didn't believe in genealogy. They said, this can't, come on, it's not going to work. So they asked the police officer, they said, are you sure you got the right cigarette? And he goes, well, actually, right as I was getting ready to pick it up, the car passed and I lost visual contact. I picked up the one I thought it was. So they said, okay. And then I saw this video. It was hysterical. They had 4 police cars trying to get another cigarette from him. So they watched him. And when one police car would accidentally be stopped at a red light, they'd radio for another police car to pick
Waiting
up
for
on
him to just toss a cigarette out.
Right. And this whole day, he had the cigarette in his mouth, and they were watching him drive down the street with the cigarette in his mouth. And they were saying, okay, he's taking another puff. Wait, it's almost ready. And then he stopped. He stopped he was running an errand. He stopped because these 2 guys were having a fight by the side of the road. So he stopped to help referee and get them separated. And they were all saying, is he going to drop the cigarette? And he didn't. He got back in the car again.
Yeah,
with the
wow, he
same
sounds like
cigar.
he was thinking, like Kohberger was thinking about it, like,
Yeah, he just,
I mean, sitting around. I mean, that you got to admit, like, that's absolutely incredible. Like, when they arrested Kohberger, he was sitting on the kitchen table, or at the kitchen table, at 1:30 in the morning, with shorts on, a shirt, and surgical gloves, and he was meticulously removing his DNA trash from the trash and putting it into separate bags. And they even caught him on camera throwing that into different garbage cans other nights, So, I mean, how crazy.
well, let's say that I would call that suspicious activity.
Yeah, just mildly suspicious, right? I mean,
Yeah, it makes you, you have to think about that. I mean, I don't do that at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm usually watching Netflix.
but that
and
doesn't
going-
mean he couldn't have done it, Dr. Colleen. I mean, maybe he was. Hey, look at that. But here's the thing. Check it out. Like, I did a video today, and I think he was really paranoid because on the drive back from Washington to Pennsylvania, he was pulled over twice in 9 minutes. They say it was accidental, the FBI, but can you imagine what that did to him, knowing that he left the knife sheath there, and now there's two cops that pull him over? He probably was paranoid out of his mind when he got back to, and there he is, 1:30 in the morning, sifting through trash.
Well, let me say this. That's kind of interesting question, because you're driving along. Let's just now he's innocent until proven guilty. But let's say you are a serial killer. You just killed 3 or 4 people, and to your knowledge, nobody's caught on to you. To your knowledge, and you decide to go drive home to Pennsylvania, and you're driving along, and the cops kind of just stop, random traffic stop, and they ask for your license. And okay, that's all right. Here, I happen to be a red car, and they're looking for a red car.
You'd be okay with
or
that
whatever,
one.
a white car.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so you don't say anything. You get back in the car. You're driving. 9 minutes later, the police stop you again, and you start thinking, "Wait a minute, is something going on here? Should I be concerned?"
Right, exactly. And then he gets all the way back home, and he's just washing the hell out of his car, and he's removing the trash. See, people often say, the whole thing about innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, I mean, I agree. In the court of law, that's exactly right. But, I mean, my opinion is that Brian Kohberger is the killer, and I feel like I should be able to. I can just say it, and
you can do
that is what it
You
is.
can do that.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to say one way or the other because I'm kind of in that
Yeah,
zone,
you testify.
And it's not like I have special information I'm not sharing. I intentionally don't know. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I just I'll read the newspaper. I'll see where everybody's fighting, what everybody's fighting about, what the court case is going on, and that's all I want to know. I don't want any inside information. So, to me, I'm just saying that if I was a serial killer and I had 4 murders on my hands and the police did 2 random traffic stops within 10 minutes,
Right.
I would feel ice water trickling down my back.
Especially when you know
And
that you
I
left
might-
something. If you knew you left something at the crime scene too, right?
Yeah, all right. That's important because he probably was thinking, maybe, I wonder if he saw that he left that knife, assuming he's the one that left the knife or the knife sheath. It's
Well, thank
what
you,
I'm saying?
Jenny J. Coleman there. That's a very generous there. Thank
thanks,
you so
Jenny. I
much.
have to thank Jenny.
Thank you. Yeah, so we gave $2,000 to Identifinders. Just what was that? It should be there in the next 2 days. It takes like 7 days because remember how we switched over to transferring it because it saves 6%, and since imagine how crazy it is if we give you like $70,000. What's 6% of that? I mean, that's like 4,000, whatever that is, 6,000.
$3,500. No,
Probably
$350.
No, I think it's like 4,000 something dollars.
No. Oh, 70,000.
Yeah.
I mean 70,000. Like 10% is 70,000. 10% is 7,000.
So it'd be
So
7 times
6%
7,
is
490.
1,200. But okay, it's not really.
I think it's $4,900. That's an entire case. I mean, that's like,
You don't. Well,
That's
we have to. I'm sorry. Everybody's trying to get rich on this except us. Now.
yeah. I'd rather have it all the other 4,900 would go to you guys, instead of,
Yeah.
because remember we were paying, we were doing the 6% processing
Yeah.
fee. I mean, it was like just for the
Thank
money.
you for that. Yeah, well, we have to stay on the people's good side that are allowing us to do that. So, we're very grateful for everybody involved because we're here just to do good stuff. I'm not here to make enough money to buy my own jet plane or anything, or a house on the beach. That's all way beyond me, and I could not manage.
Yeah.
If I won the lottery, I wouldn't know what to do. I'd probably fund all these cases, but I wouldn't know what to do with all the relatives that now start speaking to me again after so many years. It would disturb me. So we're here just to do good, like the Bibb County thing. We're here to bring people back, to their families, to let them know what happened and not be wondering. It must be terrible, like when suppose your family member disappeared, your kid or something. It must be terrible to just sit there and wonder what happened to them. It must be like something that never leaves you. Never.
Yeah. I mean, I actually say that a lot. The missing persons cases, I think, are worse than homicide. Like, you go all those years in sort of a state of limbo. You never can really move forward because there's somebody missing that you loved, right?
Yeah.
Homicide, you get an answer and then it's devastating, but you move on. Like you can kind of move past it.
You know where they are.
Right.
They died. Not that that's easy, but not knowing anything is so hard, and it will never leave you. It's worse than somebody dies, like you say, okay, they died. This is what happened. Okay, we're gonna get the police to stay on. But then if somebody just disappears, how can anybody disappear?
Yeah, I think one of the worst would be disappear, missing, but presumed murdered. And then in murder cases, having the body gives you that answer, but if you don't have the murder case solved, then again, it's lingering on and on, the whole process, you know what I mean? So that's why but I think missing persons cases are the absolute worst because it's just...
Yeah, I saw this weird case on Netflix. It was on, what's it called? Missing on ID Discovery. And it was so interesting. This girl was in college in Oakland, and her family moved to Virginia sometime, when she was deciding when to go to college. And so she decided to go back to like Oakland and San Francisco because she was familiar. That's where she was going to go to school. So she went ahead of time, a little bit ahead of time, stayed with her friends in Oakland. And then like the day before she was going to college or something, she wanted to spend the night in the city. So she went to spend the night at like the Hotel Hilton near the end of the Golden Gate Bridge because she loved the area. So that morning she got up at 6 o'clock. She checked out. She got an Uber to the other side of the bridge. There's a park there, and she was in the park. She left her backpack in the park. She hid it somewhere, and she walked across the Golden State Bridge, and they never saw her again. They saw her walk on the bridge and past the cameras that monitor the traffic and everything. It's not for looking at people. It's more like watching, make sure security, that, people keep the traffic flows and there's no big accidents or anything. And they see her walk on the bridge. She's getting ready just to hike across the bridge. She has her cell phone, and they have no idea what happened. They never saw her exit the bridge on the other side. They never saw her get off the bridge. So they were asking maybe she jumped and off the bridge and stuff, but there was no reason. She didn't. Then you start thinking, well, she was depressed last Christmas, and you start digging up somebody's life like that. But really, in the long run, there's really no reason. There's nothing. There's so many people that jump off that bridge, but nobody saw anything. And it was kind of foggy that day. So, maybe, I don't know, they just can't find her.
There's so many cases like that where it's just, I mean, we've been covering a few lately, maybe a month ago, where this guy, he's just driving around, going, maybe go visit his kid and visits his ex-wife, and then they find his car near a river with his shoes 10 feet apart, and he just sort of vanished off the face of the earth. Nobody knows if he went in the river. They said he had no reason to do anything. He was planning on doing things. And, You know.
Yeah.
Maura Murray's kind of like that. She just
There
disappeared.
was I saw this one, it was so weird. A girl, she was in college and she went to go visit her family on the holiday. And she always used to go jogging at a certain day, or a certain time of day. So she texted and she wore earbuds, she listened to music. So, she texted, hey, I'm going running. She put her running clothes on and she left. I never saw her again. And apparently what happened, had the earbuds, she was jogging, she was coming. There's some people in the neighborhood saw her and she disappeared. And they think what happened is she was, picked up by somebody in the area, that hit her on the head and dragged her into a car or something. But she didn't know he was there because she was listening to the music and she didn't hear anybody sneak up behind her. She was like jogging in the music. So there was a guy that confessed that he came up behind her, hit her on the head and dragged her away. But then when they went to court, the family was so relieved, to find this out. And then when they got to court, he changed his mind. He said it didn't happen. He was lying. So they never figured it out.
Those people should get put in prison just for doing that.
Yeah.
I can't stand when these people come on the false confession because they want to be cool. Well, how about we make false confession like a 5-year sentence? Then there'll be a lot less of those,
Yeah, it would be, those, I don't know, false confessions, they're just as bad, it's just, why don't everybody do the right thing? Just definitely, if you something, say something. If if you're the killer and you want to confess, go ahead. If you're not the killer, don't confess. People do weird things just to be funny. People think that's funny sometimes. Well, it's not funny.
So you've been, let me ask you something. So you've been in courts lately. Can you discuss any of that? Or like you've actually testified?
Yeah, the cases are over. Yeah, it was a real thrill to testify in court. It's really, because, let me say this. When I was growing up, I was pretty smart. So my mom would, like theoretically, I'm just kind of painting a general picture here. My mom would say Mrs. Smith, Colleen, can you recite your poem from Mrs. Smith, Or, she got an A in geography. That kind of like, I'm the celebrity and, I hate all that. So I don't really, talk about my background so much unless you really ask me. But the thrill was I got to go to court and they asked me the whole enchilada.
Oh, man.
Where'd you get your PhD in nuclear physics? Okay, what did you do? This is what I did.
Did you give them concise answers or did you just keep going? And you tell stories, right? So do you...
Yeah, well, they say, okay, what did you do next? They say, I went over here, I worked for this company, and I worked on this. Well, what did you work on besides that? Okay, this is what I did. Can you tell us what you did in the 1980 to 85? Okay, this is what I did. I tried to answer it. Like throw the knife and get them right in the middle, the forehead. I answered it.
Oh my God, man! Are you a killer? Or no, I'm just kidding.
Now you got to understand. You're in court. You want to streamline. Yeah. You don't want to talk about anything. You answer the question. And so I'm sitting there, and then the judge calls a recess, and I get up to go in the hall, and this girl goes, "I could listen to you all day. You're the boss."
Yeah,
going,
it's
okay.
Awesome. Yeah, that's why it's so great when you're on. It's like people love to listen to all your stories and everything.
Yeah, so it was a real thrill, it made me feel whole, like I'm doing something good, I'm enjoying it, I'm really helping, I'm showing my expertise in a very correct way. I'm not at a cocktail party, bragging, I'm not like that. But somebody asked me and I have a legitimate reason for answering the question. So, you know what, let me tell you, if ever you do go into this line of work, there are 2 things you should never do. The first one is don't ever, right before you go to bed, sit at your computer and say, I'm just going to check one more thing before I go to bed.
God, yeah, you're up there another hour and a half. Forget it.
Yeah, then the sun's rising and you go, oh, no.
I did that yesterday. I was working on a video and I was like, okay, it's 12:45. I'll just do till 1. I'll keep editing till 1. Then I look at 1. Okay, 1:15. Okay, 1:15. And then it's 1:30 and then I finally got out of there at 1:45, so it was an extra hour of just absolutely. Yeah. I could have got up early and done it, but you're just in a groove,
Yeah. Well, then the second thing you should never do never, okay, I'm telling all the freaks this in case anybody jumps into this, is don't go to cocktail parties that have people there that don't know who you are. Because sooner or later, somebody's going to ask you, well, what do you do for a living? And
Oh
then
God.
party's over. You say, I work cold case homicides for the police. Party's over.
Yeah, they're all just going to want to ask. They're going to want to ask you 1,000 questions, aren't they? Yeah.
And then your friends that already know you are going, oh my God, I don't want to hear about that one again.
Yeah. I was gonna get Dan Carr to show up here, see if he'll come say hi. Remember, he was the watch pig, never boiled.
Yeah, I don't have my cup here, but yeah, Dan, is he here? Is he? Dan, you there? How's your pig doing? You still watching it?
He's
You know,
dealing
pig
with some
boils
stuff,
are
but
like oyster roasts, for the Murdoch case. It's the pig boils and the oyster roasts that get you in trouble.
Yeah. But what were some of when you were in court, like what were they asking you? I mean, did you get into the whole FGG?
Well, yeah, you know what? I tell you what really bothered me. They did something that really bothered me. This is not the only time I've talked to these people. There was sort of like a general discussion. Then there was like a discussion with attorneys maybe. Then there was pre-trial deposition, something like that. So an interview, a pre-trial, maybe another conversation, and then you testify in court. So there's several. And during this lead into this, the defense asked me, in Sarah Yarborough's case, he says, you said the name of that killer absolutely was Fuller. You said it was Fuller, and you absolutely were adamant about it. And I'm going, now this was, going back to 2011. And I'm sitting there going, I'm confused. I'm confused because that's not something that I would tell people. It's always statistics. Could be the guy's adopted, right? Okay, I don't know, so you can never be sure about that last name. And so I'm really confused, and he confuses me. All right. And then he confuses me in the pretrial deposition. And then I go to court, he does it again. And this time, they have not given me all the old emails and all the documents like that I exchanged with the detective back 15 years ago or 12 years ago in 2011, 11. So finally, he said, the prosecution says, well, and here's that email you exchanged with the detective. And I'm looking, and it says probably Fuller, but he could be a name change, an adoption, illegitimacy, which means it's not Fuller because the guy was adopted. And I'm going, this is the first I've seen this in 12 years. How come you're putting words in my mouth? It like the guy was trying to throw me off balance and saying the wrong things and kind of leading me down something that never happened. I said, hold it. I said, you're putting words in my mouth. This is not, I can't remember what I said, but I would never say it's absolutely Fuller. I would never say that. And that's why I'm confused, because you're saying things that I'm thinking, how could I have said that? And I didn't. And so I said, he said, yeah, but you said it was Fuller. I said, read it. I said, it's almost certainly Fuller, but there's a name, could be an adoption in the family. I said, underline the word almost certain or probably. And then he went away. He ran away. So, in other words, it was kind of a stupid, excuse my French, not a clever ploy, right? It wasn't sneaky, and it was sneaky, but it was not real. It was one of these things. Why are you saying that? Because sooner or later you're going to have to give me that email, and you're making yourself look bad because the jury, and the jury was going, yes, on my account, right? There was one guy, you could tell half of them had taken DNA tests. I didn't pay attention to the jury. I didn't even look at him. I didn't want to look at him. I looked at the attorneys the whole time. And so, one of the jurors, they told me later, one of the jurors going.
That's what they told you, how they were reacting to you?
Yeah, they were like, oh, I've taken a DNA test. I get it.
That's
You know, so
awesome.
they were all kind of, there was one guy that was really concerned and had not taken the DNA test. He was concerned about privacy and stuff. So they explained it to him. I mean, the loophole thing came up later, but at that time, you know, we said, look, you can opt out to law enforcement. And he calmed down. You know, okay, he got it. He got on the wave, you know, with the rest of everybody. It was one kind of, and he happened to be the foreman of the jury, you know, who had not taken the test, was not really up to par on how it worked. But then once they explained it to him, he felt a lot better. And, you know, then the guy got convicted. He was sentenced to 45 years and eight months in prison. He's like 68, so he's not getting out.
Well, good job.
So,
You nailed
yeah,
it.
it was a real thrill. I wish I had hung out a little bit longer. I was tired and I went back to my hotel and then, you know, we ate. I should have just hung out when the people came out. Then I could talk to anybody. I'm already done, so I can talk to anybody. What they do is they have a list of jurors, and you can't talk to anybody really until you're done. And then it doesn't matter. So, for example, her parents, they let her mother testify first
Hmm.
because that meant she could sit in the
And watch the
court for the
court.
rest
Yeah.
of, yeah. And I want to say one of the highlights of this was the jury impact statement. I have never sat through that before, and it was overwhelming, absorbing these people. I thought it was just, you see on TV, you know, the people are saying, well, you killed my daughter. I just could not take it all in, the grief and the change in people's lives and the unbelievable uproar and upsets and that they've been through. Her brother, Sarah Yarborough's brother, was actually in a mental hospital because he was an athlete, he was a straight A student, and after that he went downhill, got into drugs, you know, picked himself up, got himself all better, but he wasn't there. He couldn't deal with it. There was another woman who came up. Nobody had, you know, she didn't look like she belonged. You know, she was sort of a different kind of person. And she got up and gave an impact statement that she had been a former victim. She was the first victim he had back in the 80s. He had been, he had, she had, oh, this was really weird. She had been like in a car near a river. She had gone out to the river and the guy chats her up a little bit and then he's kind of she gets these weird vibes from him, so she got in the car, you know, to leave. She says, look, I really got to go. She got in the car, and next thing you know, he's got her in the front seat with a knife to her throat, asking her to disrobe. So she did, and he dragged her out the car and he was marching her to the river. He had like I think a t-shirt over her head. So she took the t-shirt, took it off, threw it at him, and started running into the river and dived in the river. And I said to her later, I said, and then she got help down the river, you know, that she called for help. And that she recognized him and he got put in prison for that attempted assault. Well, I said to her, you know, you took a real chance, you know, that he'd run after you. And she said, no, I didn't because I'm a lifeguard. And he told me at the car that he didn't know how to swim. I said, good
Oh, I
move.
think I've seen that on like a Discovery or something. That scenario.
I it could be. It was on Dateline. No,
Was
48
she attacked
hours.
like in a field sort of before that, and then ran through the woods and then jumped into the river? Is that?
I think right.
Yeah.
And she got down to the next pier and she called for help, you know, because she didn't have any clothes, right? So she called for help and they came and got her and, you know, wrapped her up and she identified him. And that's why he was in prison the first time, but that was before CODIS. But she got up and she testified and people were looking and saying, who's that? You know, she's not one of Sarah's friends. Who's she? And she said, he was let out of prison and I didn't know he was out of prison early until they called me to the impact statement or to tell me this was going on with Sarah, that they caught him. I didn't even know for like 20 years he was out. She said, that's a danger for me because he could come after me again.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you something. See, normally in your field, the forensic genetic genealogist is left out of the court proceedings. You just provided a tip, and so what are you in this case? Are you a DNA expert that was aside from that? I mean, what made it so that you had to testify in this case as opposed to others?
Because this was our case from our company. It's because I started it. That was started in 2011. I played a significant role for 7 years.
No, but you've had other cases where you played a significant, like you guys have solved tons and tons of criminal cases, but you don't have to go to trial.
Yeah, some of them plea. They plea out and they just, accept a plea deal. And some, are already dead. We find out that they died a long time ago. Some of them, have a plea deal. I will testify in a couple more, but they're still, not going through the process of trying to, fight off the extradition or fight off the trial or, keep denying that it wasn't really them. It takes a while. And so there's many reasons. These just happen. I think I testified 3 times. I've got one more coming up. And then one other case, the guy pled out and he pled guilty.
Do you think that over time, see, this is what it's feeling like, is that defense teams, forensic genealogy is sort of new, really, in terms of the public. 2008, the Golden State Killer, it was way before that with you, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So now that these defense attorneys are becoming more used to it, they're starting to go, you know what, we can battle this stuff. And I think it's becoming where you guys have to show up to court more now because they want to work the angles and try to figure out a way to sort of discredit the DNA. Don't you think that's sort of happening?
Well, in the end, it's the CODIS match that's gonna do the trick, and it's so I think that now to answer your question, that I was involved in these cases, but I imagine that there will be cases I am not involved in that they will call me as an independent.
Right, I can see that.
That is to be expected. And so that's fine. I can handle it. And so I think that, we have to get used to this. And there will always be, like right now, CODIS is 30 years old, right? There are still, the DNA analysts still go to court and say, it's 1 in 8 octillion that is him versus somebody else. You always have that, but you don't have to go into the back room and say all the stuff that you did to get there. So I think genealogy will be the same way, that somebody will come in and say, not as octillion to 1, or they'll say it's, more likely A than B of all the brothers. They'll make a statement based on but they won't go into all the mechanics and the details because that will already be pretty much standard operating procedure that people have accepted and already know.
Yeah, it just seems like at the beginning there was more of the pleas. Like they just go, we just go, oh, I'm guilty. But I think now defense attorney, that's what I was trying to get at, is they're sort of now like, hey, not so fast, okay? Let's fight this now. Like sort of like in the Kohberger case, it's touch DNA's on there. They want to work all the angles, try to see if but before it was just, okay, let's plea, you're dead to rights, you got your DNA's there, it probably depends on the type of DNA too. Like if it's semen on a rape case, well, you're going to plea, right? But if it's touch DNA somewhere, which, you could try to explain it another way.
But that's not anything to do with genealogy.
Well, no, it doesn't. Right? But they're going to want to ask you to try to trip you up if you were in court. If the genealogist had to go in there and say, hey, and then you say, let's say you happen to slip, you said, yeah, I did use the backdoor method. Oh, so you use an unethical technique. And then they go on and on. You know how defense attorneys do it, right? I mean,
they may say, look, first of all, the thing is they have to challenge the CODIS. And so what they may do is say, and then they have to challenge the DNA. And you say, well, I used sterile gloves, it's not contamination. And then on the side, they're going to say, well, how did you figure out it was really XYZ? And you have to, I did, I don't know. And, if you don't do it right, then maybe there's, the lead turns to be sour. You know what? There was I talked to this detective. If you remember a few years ago, GEDmatch had certain restrictions on the kinds of cases. There was only 2 or 3 cases, like a homicide or a sexual assault, you could put up. And so then there was a trial in Utah of the church organist, the elderly woman who was a church organist, and somebody came in and beat her within an inch of her life. And that was not under the GEDmatch terms of service. But GEDmatch and another company and some other people said, we're going to sneak and upload that anyway. And they did, and they solved it. They figured out it was this teenage guy, broke in, and he was arrested. All right. During the trial, the judge was sitting saying, well, how'd you figure out it was him? And the detective did a little ballet dance, and the judge says, well, wait a minute. How did you figure out it was him? The detective beat around the bush, and finally, the detective had to say, we used GEDmatch, and it came out, and that's what kind of made GEDmatch, everybody look bad. What GEDmatch did was that's when the opt-in started to happen. You know, they let the case go forward, but in return, they let more cases be uploaded, but in return, they allowed people to opt out.
But they also opted out everybody, and you had to go back in manually and opt in, which was really horrendous for a while there. You know what I noticed? I thought it was pretty cool now is that they have a, it's cool. I mean, it's really good for you guys because when you go log in, with pretending you're new, it has you already the little button pressed for opting in, but you can then choose to, you know, it's just right now here's the option, but it defaults as opting in.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they didn't make you scroll over and click something, you know.
To tell you the truth, I think most people do opt in these days because it's getting, you know, I think people are becoming more aware that if you have a second cousin that's a serial killer, there's no reflection on you. You know, it's more like, do you feel comfortable putting your DNA out there on, you know, on it's not really a public website, it is, but you need an account. You can only get, you know, there are certain restrictions. You just can't go and download everything, and the kind of DNA they download is not, you know, really useful for anything other than helping, you know, with genealogy and identifying. So I think that people are feeling more comfortable, and if they put the opt-in as the default, that's all right with me. You can always opt out.
No, but I just think it's great because then it doesn't require you to sort of look somewhere else on the page, you know, like you're just ready to go, you know, to find the opt-in one. I think most people a lot of times click on the default, you know, so at least it's there.
Yeah, I agree. You know, we're and it's really interesting to me. You know, at first, the first few days, weeks, months, it was an oh my God thing. Oh my God, they cracked all these killer. Oh my God. And, you know, all the companies were grabbing cases and things were like really messy, you know, uproar. But now all of that's died out. A lot of that's died out, and people are really giving some thought. You know, they really are thinking more about what this all means and not just oh my Godding themselves. So I'm actually pretty happy. I don't care I do care whether people agree with me, you know, that this is good or not. I mean, I do care. But, you know, it's what I care better about is they're really thinking about it more than just saying, oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, pull a plug. What? You mean the police are using my DNA to catch criminals? Oh, I don't want that. I don't want anybody in my DNA. And then you just put a serial killer behind bars. You know, I think people are favoring the serial killer, helping to get the serial killer.
Yeah, well, it reminds me of CCTV. You know, like in Europe, they have CCTV, and they only use it when they're trying to solve a crime, but it's everywhere, the cameras, so it really helps solve crimes. We're over here, people go, I don't want to be on camera, but then you always go, what do you care if they're not even going to look at it, unless there was a crime, right? You know, I don't know. I mean, you know, America's different because we have, you know, privacy and we sort of value, obviously we value that, but at the same time, you know, I mean, I wouldn't mind if there was a camera capturing criminals doing things.
I'll tell you something that's really ironic. I hope on Netflix everybody watches the case of Lucy Blackman, and that's a woman who disappeared in Japan. She was 21 years old. She was a flight attendant, but she took some time off and she just wanted to live in Japan, and she worked as a hostess at this high-class nightclub, and she disappeared, and they figured out what happened to her. But what was ironic was when they couldn't find her, her father flew to Japan from England. She was from the UK.
What's the name of that thing? Before you keep going, because you told me the name of that, and I was watching it, and now I only watched part of it, and I didn't remember what I was watching. So now you got to tell me because I got to finish watching it.
Case of Lucy Blackman.
That's just the whole
And
name right there? Okay.
Yes, the superb crime, true crime.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Like the dad's
crime
on
I've
there. He's there the whole time.
But
yeah.
let me tell you about that. You brought up a good point. Is that the father went to Japan, to figure out what's going on, talk to the police, kind of like you think he did. And the police were really, Japanese are very quiet. They're very private and confidential. And he said, "Have you checked the security cameras in the area? Have you checked?" And the Japanese detective looked at me like, "What?" And he says, "And then we don't use security cameras. We don't have those anywhere." So the father said, "This is so weird because in the UK they have a security camera on every corner, and they're all made in Japan.
Yeah.
They're all made in Japan. So
Yeah.
they don't use them in Japan. There's none."
You just make it for everybody else. Yeah. Well, the thing is it's so weird. I watched I think the first. It's a mini series, right, or something like a multi-episode. Or did I watch the whole thing? It wasn't just one movie, right?
I think it's just one hour and a half or 2 hour thing. I don't think it's.
I gotta go. I
don't think it's in pieces at all. But it's. I have to say, it's one of the best true crime stories I've ever seen. And it's not embellished. They're telling the story exactly what happened and how they figured it out. And it's a combination of good hard work, of trying to get around, like how are we going to get that person to tell us what happened, or how are we going to figure out what that guy's real name is, and luck in finding different documents at the right time. And it's just a very perfect example of how it should work if you really if you're doing the right thing. Let's put it that way. Yes, Lucy Blackman. The Lucy Blackman case. Yes, Lucy Blackman freaks. Head to Netflix. Don't hang up now. Don't hang up now. Wait till we're done. But then after we're done, head over to Netflix and watch the case of Lucy Blackman. I watched it twice. I really love it. Oh, and Daryl says he watched it. He liked it. Good job.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna have to finish it. God, it sucks. I knew there was something. You remember when you're watching something, then you get distracted for a few days, and then you're like, "What was that thing I was watching?"
You can't find it.
That sucks.
No, you can't find it. You have to Google it, and then you still can't find it. It was really good.
I'm watching a show on Netflix. Has nothing to do with that, but it's pretty interesting. It's called, let's see, what's that phrase? Fool Me Once. It's called.
Oh, I saw that. How was that?
I'm just still watching it now, but it looks like it's pretty good. I don't want people to jump in with spoilers.
No, but what's the theme? It's
her husband and her sister were both murdered, and it's just kind of this weird thing where
a true crime?
She's seeing. Well, so it's not a true crime thing. It's more of a kind of a crazy psychological thriller type. But I was just letting you should go check it out.
It's written, right? Somebody wrote it. It wasn't like true crime. It
right?
Was like fiction.
I think you'd probably like it though. I mean, it's good.
Yeah, they have some good stuff on there. They have some stuff that's not so good, but they have some good stuff. I watch Netflix.
But every show that's on there, even the ones that suck, are somebody's favorite. You know what I mean? That's what's weird. Those songs out there that are just horrible, but somebody out there, it's their favorite song of all time.
I know, and they play it constantly in the car while you're driving.
Yeah, and you're like, why do you like that? Like for example, Coco Cabana from Barry Manilow. I mean, come on. That's the worst song in the history of the
Don't hum it. I probably have heard it, and I've erased it from my memory.
Why would anybody like anything? By the way, you guys, when me and Colleen talk on the phone, this is exactly what it sounds like on the phone. So this is really just a conversation when we're doing a show. Yeah.
Right. We're just letting you in on the call here.
Yeah.
So that's it's good. I like just sitting in chatting and going over stuff. And um, what I love Missing is there's a show called Missing. I like that one. And what's the other one with the video cameras called the Eye in the not the Eye in the Sky, where the videos catch people on video either committing crimes or there was there was a one on Missing. This girl disappears. Well, they find out she was at a bar with a bunch of friends, and they came out and they said they had an argument in the parking lot, and they go, oh, she had an argument in the parking lot, let's check this out, see if any of those people kind of did something. So they have the video camera of her coming out of the bar with the four friends, and they are having some discussion, but she walks away from the four friends, and they get in the car and they leave. And she starts walking in the wrong direction to some other direction away from her apartment. And they follow her. They keep following her.
This is at a bar, right? I think I've seen this one on See No Evil or Hear No, whatever the hell it is.
So they're watching to see where she goes. And, she kind of, and suddenly something went wrong with the camera. And the camera turned itself off for a few minutes. And it turned itself back on right as she was going to turn the corner again. And she's gone. It's like she's walking.
That's not what I saw.
She's gone. Because it was jumping the camera and they didn't film it. And when they look back, it's like she disappears.
But of course, if that's a conspiracy theory that somebody deleted it right before. How is it possible that 1 second of time is missing when it could have? Yeah.
I know. It's like the lady on the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, how do you know? I mean, how can somebody disappear? You have to think about that. And you just don't know. I mean, you just don't know. There's a lot of, there was one that I really liked. They solved it, though. Which one? I have a couple of them that I really like. This girl went to Walmart to buy a card for her boyfriend. And she called her mother from the store and said, I don't know where the cards are. Can you help me? And mother says, go over here. And you can see her on the surveillance camera looking at the cards. And then she buys a card. She comes out the store. She gets in her car. You see her walking to the car in the distance. And she disappears. As she gets in the car, drives away. You see her stop at the stoplight, continue going. They never see her again. And they find her a few days later. She's been killed, raped, strangled, They have no idea. So they watch the video in the store to see if anybody's stalking her or anything's out of the ordinary. There's absolutely nothing. They see her walk to the car, get in the car, drive off, and there's no problems. So the detective decides, he says, let me bring this to our group and let our whole group look at it at one time to see if anybody sees something wrong. I've watched it 50 times. I'm tired. I can't do it anymore. So he projects the whole, video at the store, the surveillance video on the wall. And now when they see it on the wall, what they see is she gets in the car, and in the distance you see one pixel go, and like right from the other side of the aisle to where her car is, 1 pixel. And they find out it's probably a carjacking. Somebody was just above the resolution of that camera.
And beat the frames, because those sometimes are only like 12 frames a second. Yeah. And if you get in a second, it's kind of blurry and you hardly have any,
Yeah. And so from that, they said, okay, it's a carjacking. We know that. And they found out, her car was left at another shopping center late that night. They found her car empty, abandoned. So they said, now whoever left her car there is probably the guy that kidnapped her. And he had to go get his own car from the first shopping center parking lot. So they looked at where her car was, and they could see a guy get out the car with a white shirt and, walk away. So they figured, okay, we kind of see a white shirt, brown pants. And then they looked back at the first store where she disappeared, and they were looking for a white shirt and brown pants. And then they're watching the video again, and they see somebody who never buys anything, but who's always one aisle over from where she is. When she goes to buy something else, he kind of shifts his position, but not right up against her, kind of keeping an eye. And then they see see him walk out of the store, and then they see what he looks like, and then they figure that he came out the store right before she did, about the same time. And then, so they got that much. They put his picture on the news. Nobody said anything. But then they said he must have driven into the parking lot before she did. And they watched the video of all the cars coming in the lot prior to all this happening. And they saw the guy in the white shirt and the brown pants in the truck he was driving, which is a truck that was parked there late that night. And they put two and two together. They put the truck and the person, and they got him. Somebody called in and recognized him.
I would love to be one of those video guys. I think I'm pretty good at using surveillance.
And that one pixel is the thing. It's like the Boston Marathon bombing. They had 100 cameras and 100 cell phone cameras and videos. That they went through thousands and tens of thousands of hours of looking at this crowd to see if anybody did anything.
Then they got the brothers with the backpacks and the hat,
Right, and the white hat and the black hat.
And then I remember they abducted like an Asian guy and went to a gas station. Somehow that he survived.
And he lied. They said, "Do you have OnStar, with the GPS?" He says, "No." He lied. He did.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, so he made a run for it. When the guy went into the convenience store, the second brother in the car kept put his pistol down for a few minutes, or just put it aside for a minute, and jumped out the car and ran. Yeah,
that was a weird one, that whole story.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, anyway, video cameras was the theme we were talking about.
That's right. Well, that's that whole show on IDTV called See No Evil, right?
Yeah, that's it, See No Evil. I really like that show.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's so weird, it's just so weird. How people just, like that lady just disappears. The camera hiccups right at the wrong moment, and she's gone.
I think there's another one that was similar to yours, where there was a girl at a bar, and she sort of like walked away or something with somebody. You see him walk away, and then there's another camera on somebody's house where it shows the guy pull up and then attack her and then throw her into this, like killed her and threw into this like side street culvert area, and then that's how they found her. Even like they tracked it and found her laying there dead, and then went back in time and figured out who that guy. It was so weird. It was so random. Like there was no reason for the guy to do it.
There was this guy called Brian Schaefer, and he was in like Ohio, and he was going to get married. Him and his fiancée were going to Hawaii, and he had the ring. He was going to ask her to get married, and they had the video cameras. They were at a bar the night before with their friends, and he went down the escalator. He was at a bar called the Ugly Tuna. And he went down like the escalator to the first floor to, walk his friends out the front door. And they saw him come back up the escalator into the Ugly Tuna, and they never saw him again. When the bar closed down, he wasn't there. And they looked, all over. There was, and his cell phone was found like a few miles away, like a couple of weeks later.
Wasn't that the one where there's like no way out either? Like they couldn't even figure out how where he never showed up again on the camera.
Right, never. There's no other place. There's no way to get out of the building. They thought he may have fallen in like a shaft or something, but they never found him. They never found him, and there was no reason. They said, well, he must have committed suicide or snuck out, all kinds of. That one's a weird one.
Yeah.
It's you've seen the one about her name's what's her name? Elizabeth Lamb. Getting in the elevator at
Lisa Lamb,
Lisa at the Seymour Hotel.
Yeah. I think that one she's just like a crazy, not crazy, but she was on, what was she like, she had
antidepressants.
Yeah, well, she took medication for one of those severe, like, what is it?
A paranoia or something.
Yeah, what's the one where you have like two different personalities? Schizophrenia. I don't know if that's the one.
Yeah, she had some medication going.
And maybe she wasn't on it, but she was. And then they just found her in that water tower nude. you know.
Yeah, and she had been there a while. You
yeah,
know,
because that's pretty gross, right?
and it had a big top on it. It was a heavy top, and the water started looking terrible in the hotel. That's why they went to the water tank to fix it because they thought something wrong. They found her in there.
Yeah, somebody's saying it's bipolar. I don't know if that was it. I don't remember exactly what it was.
How could she jump in did she take the top off the water tower?
And sort of like, why would she do that? You know, like, crawl in this little hole and get in the water? Yeah, it just sort of doesn't make sense.
You know, but it was a really heavy top on top. So, you know, could she have lifted it and thrown herself in? Or, you know, if I decide to kill myself, which I won't, don't worry. I'm telling all my enemies, don't worry about that. But if I ever did, I'd fix it so it was so weird nobody would ever figure it out. I'd drive everybody crazy trying to figure out what really happened. You'd probably
be pretty good at that.
Yeah, I'd try hard. I'd try hard.
Use that rocket science.
Yeah.
Brain of yours
right.
and
Yeah, right. Bipolar, I think, is what Bibb Photography was saying. She was bipolar. Yeah, I think she's bipolar. That must be what we're thinking about.
Maybe. Let me see. Let me see what it says.
Was at the Cecil Hotel, the Cecil. And funny enough, Timothy Cecil is on here saying she was schizophrenic. Wonder if he owns a hotel. But that's
schizophrenic is the one that I thought. Now that does say here, it says Lamb has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression. She had been prescribed several medications for her mental issues, Wellbutrin, lamotrigine, I mean, tons and tons of like 5 different drugs.
Yeah, you know, so who knows? They'll never figure that one out.
Yeah. But hey, you've been on there for almost 2 hours. Is that it looks like it's fun though.
Really? Time has flown. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you
even realize. I mean, it's been sort of a, relaxing week, not relaxing, but relaxing, because the first week back you get stuff done. You catch up on stuff, but it's really happy. Over the holidays, kind of boring. You sit there and you say, gee, I have all this free time. I really ought to clean my room. I really ought to do this. I really ought to call somebody. And you're just really saying, screw it,
Yeah.
Let
me ask you one. This is really important. Do you like candied yams? Like, for some reason, I just absolutely can't stand the shit. But it always shows up during Christmas or something, or Thanksgiving. It's like, who made this? Who made this? Let me ask you this. Does anybody eat candied yams when it's not Christmas or Thanksgiving? Have you ever gone to the restaurant and said, yeah, I'd like to have a side order of candied yams? All right. There isn't one of you that's going to say yes to that, right? 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 Let's be honest here. Come on. Yeah.
Please don't, because one day, I just know one day in the history of the universe, I'm going to go to a party and I'm gluten-free. I go to parties pizza parties where I can't eat anything, and I watch people eat. And one day I'm going to go to a pizza party. The only thing they have is candy yams.
Yeah, but I guarantee it, there isn't one person in here who's gone to a restaurant on a Tuesday in May and ordered candied yams, all right? I can tell you that right now.
I'm thinking about that pizza party, should you wind up in the hospital, or should you pick out our candy yams to save yourself from dying of starvation?
Yeah.
Which one? You can't win. It's a no-win situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
I went to a conference, one of those conferences last year, and they had nothing for me to eat at the dinner. There was nothing. Everything had wheat and gluten in it, except for one thing. No, 2 things. salad and carrots, like boiled carrots. A plate of carrots. Jeez. And people were going, oh, look how much she likes carrots. No, she's eating so many carrots. Look at the carrots that woman's eating. And I'm going, wait, stop.
You're double fisting carrots, right? You're just, I don't know. Yeah.
Please, it's like those little skinny, the little carrots you buy in the big bag. Well, at a conference, I have a whole steamer tray full of these carrots. It's like, Look, guys, I'm starving. It's the only thing I can eat. Please have mercy on me. What do you want me to do? Sit here and starve while you all eat, whatever it is, chicken a la king, whatever.
Hey, what is the? Let me ask you something. Like with the gluten thing, what is the effects of it on you? I'm starting to wonder if I have stuff. What are the things that you gotta look?
Well, it just makes me sick.
Just not feel good, or?
However, diarrhea, headaches, just feeling lousy. You know how you feel lousy, but you don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And what usually happens, or I have to be careful because at the conferences, I will order something gluten-free, but it might be contaminated because you're at a hotel, and they may use the same grill, or I'm not quite that sensitive, but I've got to be careful. So I usually travel with a mobile food supply. I usually have a mobile food supply where I have hard-boiled eggs, apples, bread, cheese, salami, things that will survive the journey wherever I'm going. And I put it in this rubber type little thing with a top that clicks, and then I go back, and then not carrots.
But they have stuff that tastes pretty good now, like gluten-free crackers, even, right? Like you can,
they have gluten-free everything.
Yeah, like everything. Yeah, so.
I mean, gluten-free animal crackers. So and some hotels actually have that. And I was surprised. I was coming back from Australia, and they said to me before I got on the plane, "You want to bid for business class?" And I said, okay. And I threw a few dollars. Usually it's like $6,000 to do that. So I threw a few dollars. It's like a little auction, and I got it. So it winds up, I'm in first class, not first, but business class, coming back from Australia, and for almost nothing extra. So the lady's coming down the aisle. She says, "Would you like a pair of pajamas?" I'm going, okay, I'll take it. And then they start serving the meal, and the meal was, and in the middle of the meal, I say, "Can I have some bread, some gluten-free?" And they had gluten-free bread on this plane. I mean, it was a miracle. It's like God came down from heaven. Usually they say, "Oh, you're gluten-free," and they give you a bag of peanuts while everybody else eating these big meals of nice chicken and steak. And they say, "Oh, you're gluten-free? Oh, shucks, here's a bag of peanuts," But this, I mean, they actually had gluten-free bread on this plane back from Australia. I mean, It was incredible.
Maybe you were in the first class.
I was in business class.
That's
and
still
I just
pretty
auctioned.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I threw it in. They had beds. You could do the little, like in a car, you have those controls where you lean back.
Yeah.
You could lay flat, and they gave you a mattress and a blanket and pajamas. Wow. And I'm like, oh my God. And
in business class? That's weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and the TV screen's right there, like you're falling asleep at night and you're watching the TV and you have earplugs.
Well, what was first class like on there? Do they have saunas and hot tubs?
I'm wondering.
I mean, that's pretty. That's pretty crazy.
Massage table and servants and.
Yeah, that's.
I
crazy.
have no idea. I mean.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. So gluten-free, it just gets sick if I don't watch it, And I travel with a mobile food supply.
Have you ever had gluten-free gluten? I mean, that's what's really. It's awesome. You use that in bread.
And I went to you just use other flour. But I went to.
Well, there's gluten-free cigarettes. You probably haven't tried those. I'm just kidding.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead.
But I went. I go to the store and I pick up crackers and stuff like that. So. I know how to. Do I look underfed? I do survive.
I think. What do you guys? This lighting's better than the lighting she normally has, but all of a sudden it got kind of orange just right then. But don't you guys think that the lighting's better? Because normally she has that backlight and it was like blowing it out. I like this one. I can
show you what it looks like.
I like this one. I think it's better.
Yeah. Yeah, so, anyway, I am gluten-free, but that's great. It almost killed me a few years ago before I figured out what was going on, but it didn't.
Well, they're coming out with gluten-free chewing tobacco, and I'm really looking forward to just think how stupid that is. Like, there's people that actually believe that when you tell them.
Yeah. Yeah, you can...
Like you're just sitting there... But it's we always have. I have a character, Mary Lou, that always smokes those.
Oh really? Oh, yeah. Terrible things.
Did they screw up on the Kohberger case by demolishing the house? I don't know. What was that? Something?
If somebody says you don't want to leave the plane, you're right. I wanted to just rent the plane as an apartment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So anyway, talking about gluten-free, we're just hanging out and talking about gluten-free, but it's nothing to do with true crime. It's exactly, but we kind of got off on a tangent.
Yeah, I brought up the yams.
Gluten-free beer, yeah, and yams. You're right. Nobody ever eats those except one meal every year.
I mean, so this year, like literally, we did it on the 30th, and they had yams at the table, and I was just going, what? Everybody's like, oh, I love these, and I don't buy it, man. Nobody really buys that, right? Like I don't believe people when they say that for some reason.
And another thing, yeah, when else do you eat cranberry sauce? How did that all get started?
Yeah.
What is the deal with why? I mean, do you go to a restaurant in May or June?
Nobody ever does, right?
I have a big serving of cranberry sauce.
Right. Nobody ever orders that stuff. And by the way, what is that? That little cube, like the cylinder that comes out of, and then you cut the slices.
Yeah, well, you can make your own, you boil the cranberries, throw some sugar in it, and that's it. That's all it is.
Well, there you go, everybody. Make your own.
It's gluten-free. It's gluten-free. So everybody's invited to my house to have cranberry sauce.
Yeah.
Some people put horseradish in it. That's like a little tangy, like a little bite to it,
yeah?
But
what I've been doing? This is, when you go to, like, an Asian restaurant, you get the mustard that's got the horseradish in it. And then also the cocktail sauce. Yeah. Well, like, the cocktail. So I have this really hot wasabi. So you just mix it in with mustard. Tastes exactly the same. And then you take the same wasabi, put it in ketchup. Tastes exactly the same as the cocktail sauce. I mean, it's amazing, man. It's like, get the hottest wasabi you can, and then you take a little finger amount, and then you just stir it up in there, and you squish it and make sure it's all mixed in. Tastes exactly the same. If you ever.
That's really.
Yeah.
I'll think about that. That's another little trick. I don't.
It does work.
Generally eat a lot of that. I used to be very, very fat. I lost quite a bit of weight, and so I got unhooked from things like that. Like sauces and gravies. I don't generally do that.
I don't know if mustard's got a lot of fat. Like mustard and wasabi.
I do mustard because it's got no fat in it. It just.
Yeah. So try the wasabi mustard with that. That makes that. Like the Chinese hot mustard, the yellow.
Well, yeah.
Tastes exactly like
I
that.
like that. Yeah, this sounds good. Man, I'm getting hungry. Let me go get some yams with some hot sauce.
Well, I love doing like teriyaki chicken into the yellow mustard. Just a little dab in there. I don't know why.
That sounds really
hey,
nice.
right when we get done, you're calling Uber Eats. They're coming over.
Right, and bring those yams over. Anybody that has leftover candy yams, send them over. It's I can't wait.
Yeah, a semi pulls up with barrels filled just for you.
And it goes along with the fruitcake. Fruitcake. There's only one fruitcake in the world, and people keep giving it to everyone. Because nobody wants it.
Yeah, she makes a fantastic candied yam. I mean, how do you? That sentence comes out of people's mouths, everybody. All right. Anyways, I don't know. Do you have anything? I mean, the thing is, when we were on the phone, we talked sometimes for an hour. It's so easy because this is how it goes. It's just like this.
Yeah.
Maybe not as much laughing.
Say my welcome.
No, you can stay here till for 4 hours, but sometimes you're like, "Well, great, it's an hour."
No, I never say it's an hour, but I do. Sometimes I am tired, and I have to excuse myself, saying, "Look, I just had a rough week," but I haven't. So sometimes I don't mind. Actually, I enjoy it very much, and I feel bad when I can't hang out longer. I mean, but this week was easy, and lots good stuff boiling.
We should do the call it Friday with Fitz, or something like that.
Yeah. Right. No, I'm really.
But not every Friday. But if you don't want it, I mean, you could though. I mean, I wouldn't mind if it was every single Friday. But
yeah, well, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. It's kind of chronic. I have this chronic travel thing going on. I was gone like 6 weeks at the end of last year, almost 6 weeks. I missed Thanksgiving. I was in Australia. However, I gave Friendsgiving. I gave a Friendsgiving instead of a Thanksgiving, and it worked out really good because nobody else had anywhere to go. Right? Except to my house. Thanksgiving, you have 10 dinners to go to. and people come and go. But at Friendsgiving, it was 2 weeks ahead of time or so, 10 days ahead of time. Everybody came. So it worked out.
Well, nice. There you go.
And I was gone like almost 6 weeks, but I couldn't help it. It just happened. It just wasn't something I planned, but I had. Oh, I want to tell the freaks something. This is off topic of true crime, but I want to give everybody a heads up about something. April 8th is a total solar eclipse of the sun. I'm getting word out that if you live within the path of that solar eclipse, you should make every effort to go see it and stand under the shadow as the sun is blotted out for a few minutes. I have been to
I was one when I was a kid in Portland.
Okay, I have been to 8 solar eclipses, 7 of which have been total. This one is a beautiful eclipse. I am going to outside of San Antonio. It's going to last 4.5 minutes. And where we're at is a very low chance of clouds. And the eclipse is right overhead, which means it's a warm part of the day, which means no mist. Probably.
So you're traveling just to do this?
Well, might stop and see a friend somewhere, but yeah, basically. And I'm gonna stay there for a few days. We have a couple of friends that are gonna join us. We have an Airbnb outside of San Antonio, and we're gonna, go a day ahead of time, set things up, figure out what we're doing. NASA is setting up like an event in this little town in Texas called Kerrville, and they're setting up like a stage, and they'll explain what's going to happen, and there's music and food and stuff. And so we're going to head on to see what's going on over there, because that's the best place to see it in the country. So I might give everybody a heads up. It's off topic, but it's so, if you have never seen one,
when's it coming?
April 8th.
April 8th.
It's going from Mexico through Texas, Indiana, like Oklahoma, Indiana, kind of upstate New York, into Canada, and then it goes away. And this is the last eclipse you can see over the United States until 2044. So everybody pay attention to what I'm saying.
Well, it says 2024.
2044.
Oh, 44. Oh, good. Is that what you said?
Last one for 20 years. Remember, there was one that goes from Oregon to Florida, and now this one's going in the other direction.
Well, yeah, when I was a kid, I think it was in the 70s, they give you those little, you had to make those, I guess in class, you made those little tin foil thing with a little pinhole, and then.
Right.
Yeah.
So just to let the freaks know, I'm heading on down in April. It's worth it. I've been all over the world seeing eclipses, and it's worth it.
It is pretty cool. There was one in Oregon just a couple of years ago, actually, I thought. With the
in Madras.
Yeah, and we could see it from where I live, but it wasn't a full, like, right on it. It was kind of like a partial.
You have to get, I know, but you got to get the full body dose. And this is 4 minutes of, I can't take it all in. I just fry, I just max out. And after it's over, I can't remember anything because it's so magnificent, so unbelievable.
Yeah, space is that one thing that you just think about and you get kind of lost in it, Yeah. Just the whole thing.
It's that kind of experience. Usually you look up at the moon, it's this little round thing, it goes from here to there, and next month it'll be over there. You don't realize how big it is until you're standing underneath.
I wish we could go back there more. I'm trying to figure out why we're not doing that. It's sort of odd, don't you think, that we just don't already have a base there, since for 40, 50 years or whatever.
It's expensive. We had the war in Iraq and stuff like that, where all the money George Bush wasn't like, a person into that. He was more into aerospace, the war in Iraq, and oil and stuff.
But it seems like that's been that was even, last time we went to the moon was 72 or something, right? So, it's been everybody since then, every single, you'd think one president out of all of them would be like, hey, let's get back to the moon.
Did you know that when they landed on the moon, they were all having fun, but then the topic came up, hey, we have to get off the moon and go back home. And they got in the capsule, and at first it wouldn't start. The engines wouldn't start. So the astronauts took a big pen, and they stuck it in the switch. And that's what started the rocket engines to come back home. Otherwise, they would have been caught on the moon and unable to come home, and they would have died. President Nixon had 2 speeches prepared. One was a victory speech, which he used. The other one was a speech resigning their bodies to the depths. You know, the same thing when a submarine sinks and you can't get people, you resign their bodies to the depths. And he had the other speech prepared just in case. But the Big Pen saved the day.
Yeah. Somebody typed in, Trump brought space back, though. He did. The Space Force. Come on. He did do it. He's trying to get to Mars. Wouldn't you just be amazed? Here's what I would do. Here's how you raise money, everybody. Watch this. You put a Land Rover on the moon with a camera on it, and you have a channel that you pay-per-view. Put a 1 if you would watch. I would watch the living hell out of that thing. Just going like this. Like just driving around with a live feed back to Earth. Wouldn't you? I mean, wouldn't you just want to watch that like 24/7?
I would do that. You know what? If they did that, I don't think they should manufacture it in New York. You know why? Because the minute you look the other way, you look back and the hubcaps are gone.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Hey, thanks, Lisa Wilkerson.
Oh, that's nice. You know what Jenny brought up earlier about her uncle? There's a case of her uncle. Murder has never been solved. We asked her, Misty and I in the chat, asked her to email you about what happened.
Well, I did too. I said send me your, I think I did.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that specifically because don't forget, Jenny, send it on because, a lot of that depends on if the law enforcement agency is okay with what we do, because some of them act a lot and some leave it go, so we need to know the circumstances and we need to be able to approach the agency and, have some kind of compelling reason, for looking at the case. So send us whatever you can and we'll make the best argument, we're able to.
Yeah, I was going to see if I could, because I cover all kinds of cases. People just send me stuff, and I actually have a folder from one somebody sent yesterday even. And so it's just cool to go over them, and at least it's out there again, and then somebody could, at least look at it and see what's available. Was there a DNA component to it? Is that what Jenny said?
I don't know, because she hasn't said anything. She hasn't... given the details.
Oh, she said, I'm from a third world country. It will never be solved, she said.
Well, you know what? Just send it anyway. Don't make excuses. Let's look at it. See the experts to put an eyeball on it. It could be, and it could not be. It could be that I have contacts all over the world, that I can kind of bug or ask. So I don't know what it is. I don't know the whole story, but send it in anyway, so we can see that, see what can be done. Because look, Jenny, I've worked in 53 countries. I was just telling Gray I solved the Holocaust case today after 15 years. After 15 years, so I'm not intimidated by the fact there's other countries in the world other than the United States. Yeah,
you guys have been in, some of the cases you've done have involved absolute third world countries and connecting with those people, and then it all kind of works back in,
This Holocaust case required research in Latvia, Belarus, Australia, a bunch of European countries, Hong Kong. I probably had to research 20 countries to get to where I finally can say something. And that, of course, there's Poland, there's Poland, Lithuania, all kind, that the Holocaust kind of spread into. Germany with the archives, a lot of the Jewish archives, whatever, in New York, Washington, London, did all that. Berlin, Warsaw. So, don't worry about the third world. It could absolutely be that where he was from, where you're from, is just never going to go anywhere. It's possible, but maybe not. Was the crime, did it happen in the U.S. or did it happen in the other country? You want to chat?
It's kind of like if you don't play the lottery, you have no chance of winning. So why not just send it in and
Yeah.
see what if it's out there,
Yeah.
and then maybe.
Yeah, Jenny, so send it in because, send that in and let's have a look at it and think about it. And I'm interested in if it happened here or in the other country where you're from. That would be an important question. But let me know. It may be it has to just plain stop and we can't go anywhere. But maybe I have some suggestions. You never know.
Yeah, Zozo said that one of her grandfather was in a concentration camp. Which one was he in?
What is she typing?
No, that's
Okay.
just Zozo.
No
in there.
more.
Jenny said, "I will, Dr. Colleen. Thanks."
Okay, yeah, you do that for me, all right? Yeah, came to Australia with a new name. Yeah, I'm familiar with the concept. The book, if you want to look something up, it was the case was the man's name was Alex Kurtzum. He lived in Melbourne. He died last year. There was a best-selling book sold in 25 countries in 17 languages about his survival as a boy in the Holocaust. And it was some people didn't believe it. Somebody called me in 2009 when the man went on 60 Minutes. And my friend now, his name's Barry, said, "I don't believe this story. Can you look into it?" And I said, "Okay, I've done that before." And I thought it'd take a couple of months. And 15 years later, we got it. And what happened was the story actually was basically true. But the man's son wrote the book and he embellished it to make it more sellable. And that's what started raising doubts. Because he would, there was a book, there was a documentary, there was going to be a movie, and it had a lot of inconsistencies. But the story was basically true. And I only wish that I actually had everything I needed to know the answer before he died, and I just didn't realize it until last night. So there's a documentary that has been made that is now, it was at the Jewish, I have to tell you something funny. When I was in Australia, it's an Australian documentary. It premiered in Brisbane, and I happened to be in Brisbane that same night by some coincidence. So the people that sponsored it, the SBS in Australia, didn't want to come out and have a big deal because they want to preserve that for early this year when they have a TV series. They want to have the hype and all the articles written. So they weren't really, saying a lot about it. So when we went to the theater, I went there with my two friends. I told them, "Listen, we may be the only people in the theater. All right? We may be the only people. So, but I want to see it. It's going to be good." Beautiful documentary called Hitler's Jewish Nazi or something, Hitler's Jewish Soldier, something like that. And so, okay, there were 6 people in the theater with us. And we sat in the front row. We went ahead, so it was unbelievable. So I came out and I said to my friends, "Look, the bathroom's right there, right out. Let me duck in there and I'll come out and we'll talk, They said, "Okay, we'll wait for you." So when I came out the bathroom, there were 2 women, like right across, just came out the theater, and they looked at me and they said, "It's right, there she is, it's her. I know it's her. I recognize her accent. It's her." Because they recognized me from the documentary. It's like, oh my God. Yes, it's me. So I had a little mini fan club of 2 people for, about 5 minutes there. And then the other 4 people came and talked to us. Now it was it was in the Jewish International Film Festival. It was the closing film. And now it's headed for Toronto Film Festival and some of the other internationals. It might be on Netflix soon. So,
wow.
That's it. I'm very excited.
See, you guys, that's why she's a legend on here. You see that?
I just figured out his father's name tonight. I got his father's name, and we even had one. He finally took a DNA test, and we discovered first cousins in Canada, and they didn't know he survived. They didn't know who he was, and so on. And so it took a while to figure out how they're connected with DNA and everything. And the documentary was shot in Montreal. I was there the son came out from Australia with his wife to meet the family, all the Canadians, everybody, really nice people. And but it took me till last night to really, and the Canadian people had pictures of the family from 1930. And it turns out, what I figured out last night was his father and mother in that picture, his brother and his sister. So he's got pictures of his whole family, the whole family. And then he was born later, so he's not in the pictures.
Oh.
So mom, dad, and so I got his dad's name, I got the kids' names. I'm just working on mom's name now.
Well, there you go. That's
yeah,
awesome.
Canadians are always nice. Yes.
Sometimes. Okay.
Yeah, well, mostly. Misty's Canadian.
Yeah. Right, Daryl? Daryl's got he's Canadian up there. We got a bunch of freaks that are Canadian, actually.
Oh, they are? Well, it's good, though.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. We got off on that because of Jenny and all her international stuff and her third world. Don't worry, just send it in anyway.
Yeah, let's do it. So, what else? What else you got? Anything?
Oh, I'm always full of one thing or another.
Yeah, we could like the thing is that you could just keep going forever. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about, and we talked about Bibb. We really I like that, reminiscing and showing the pictures of the ceremony and stuff.
Well, my favorite part of the Bibb County one was it wasn't the press conference that I was in with, or whatever you want to call that, with the whole Brady Bunch sort of screen. It wasn't that one. It was the one where Misty, I think it's the sheriff. Is he the big Santa Claus? The bigger guy that was kind of like, he seemed like a really nice guy. Is he a sheriff? Yeah. Or who was he?
Well, I don't know. They had seen Misty's online. I saw her say something.
I can't remember what that guy was, if he was a mayor.
Well, C.W. West was the coroner.
Okay, maybe that guy then. Is he a larger guy, like a nice, cool
he
dude?
Is. And he wore sort of a plaid shirt, I think.
Yeah, so he's a cool dude. But so it was her, him, Armentrout's brother and his wife, and they were just sitting here. And then he said, "Well, I want to thank." My channel, but then he said, and all the work those freaks do. It was so cool.
It's more. No. He said, and all of those works that the freaks do.
Yeah, however you said it. Yeah.
Oh, you have to say an Alabama accent.
Yeah,
it's like, I want to thank all
those freaks do. Yeah.
I want to thank those freaks.
He said that. He goes, Gray, he's an angel unaware. And I was like, okay, that's too much. But then he said,
tell your wife.
And then And then he said,
tell your wife. Yeah. He's an angel unaware. Yeah, she goes, yeah, and he leaves his dirty clothes on the floor.
Right. Gray's like a snake. He just sheds everything and just lets it sit around. Yeah.
I want to say one other thing. Todd Matthews died. Do you know Todd Matthews? He was he founded the Doe Network.
Oh, wasn't he somebody you mentioned to me, I think?
Yeah, he founded the Doe Network. He was the first person to solve a cold case using the internet. It was Tent Girl, a girl that was found by the side of the road wrapped up in a circus tent. And they just happened to find it. He was out with his father-in-law. His father-in-law was like a road worker, and he collected these glass insulators from the tops of those high voltage posts. And so when he got out to do some road work, they said, we're not ready for you yet. And he went along the road to see if he could find any of those glass insulators that had been fallen off some of the posts. And he found the woman wrapped in the tent. And Todd, that was before the internet, so I think it was in the 90s, early 90s. And Todd just, kept, he did everything he could. It's kind of primitive in the old days. And then when the internet came on, he just spent so much time on the internet researching. And the internet in late 90s was nothing, 99, 2000. And then one night, late at night, he was a factory worker. He had a high school education, and he was just so determined. And one night he saw somebody post on a bulletin board. Back in the 90s and 2000s, you'd post on bulletin boards. And it said, "Hey, I'm missing my sister," and this is her description, and that was Tent Girl. Barbara, you can look it up on Wikipedia, it's Tent Girl. And that was the first case solved using the internet, the first Doe case. And then he went on to found the Doe network, and he wound up actually constructing NamUs. After the Doe network was kind of in place, they asked him to come and build NamUs. So he went to the University of North Texas. He worked with them. I don't know. He probably worked remotely to some extent, and he constructed the Doe network. I mean the NamUs. You know NamUs. And
But isn't he somebody you just mentioned? And I mean, like we talked, I think, a while ago about he has cases that he could help sort of, you know, maybe, I don't know, like cases that we could do or something.
I talked to him. Yeah, I did talk to him. And then, he went and did some other things. He was really doing well. During COVID, he had a lot of problems because his grandchildren, they all lived, Southern style where you have a big bunch of land and every member of the family lives on another corner, and the whole family lives on this land. And it was like that. And he just felt, responsible. They didn't have a lot of money, and then COVID shut down and he wasn't at NamUs anymore. And he's had a lot of struggles, but he was doing very well. He had some film, some documentaries I think he was asked to work with. And
I think NamUs is a really valuable tool. I mean, you guys use it all the time.
Yeah, it's Barbara Hackman. I think, Misty says it's Barbara Hackman. It's right. That's Tent Girl. And it turned out that what happened was there was a man who would do this. He'd go into a town, he'd have a child with him, and he'd befriend one of the younger women to babysit the child. And then and then he would either marry her or take the woman with him so that they she was now taking care of the child who had no parents maybe. Or he'd say it was his daughter or his niece. And the woman would go with him, and then he'd kill the woman, they think. He was a carnival worker, so that he'd go from town to town, and he was mobile, so then he'd kill the one woman, keep the child with him, or get another child, and then do the same thing again. But he died, and they never could catch him for it.
Yeah, I was typing in. I think we should give billions of dollars for, like, rape kit backlogging and FGG. I mean, it should just be like, it shouldn't be a thing. Well, we don't have the money. Yeah, we have the DNA, but we just can't do anything. I mean, just do it for God's sakes. I mean, we don't need a tunnel for a snail, okay?
Yeah, just do it. Right, just do it. Seriously.
I mean, like $10 billion would be like almost cover everything. I mean, that's the crazy part, right? I mean, it really would. Like, we give $10 billion in a second to some, country just for, hey, here you go, here's 10 bill, like we needed to do here to get these psychos. I mean, how many serial rapists would you get off the streets if you could start testing those?
Well, they're working on it. I know there's some states have cleared their backlog. That doesn't mean that they've analyzed, they have pursued all of those cases, but I think the priority has been given to serial rapists. If you see many hits on one guy. So I'm kind of just on the edge of that, so I don't know. I know they've done a lot of progress.
But a lot of times the rape kit's just sitting there. Like it hasn't even been the DNA extracted or anything. It's just,
Right. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yep. I know. Well, just keep at it. Keep lobbying, keep talking about it, keep pushing people, and then you have to prosecute. You just can't do the DNA, you've got to follow through.
Well, the number one thing for you guys, we've talked about this probably 10 times, but we already got CODIS, everybody. At the same moment in time, have a streamlined little kit that uses bioinformatics and send the damn sample right over to GEDmatch from each criminal as well, so that they're in a section that only law enforcement can include in their searches. And I think we would have the most diverse population of people all across the country, all different races, everybody in there, and there'd be a couple million people, and just bam, and man, you're going to start solving cases like this. Ding, 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 ding.
Well, we're working on it.
That's the answer right there.
You can't do it in one day. And no, I don't know if New Jersey has cleared their backlog, but you can just go to the Google that, and you're going to find it real easy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're already getting the DNA from the person. So that part's already been approved somewhere. So why is it hard to go, hey, let's also upload it here? And,
Well, because you've got to reprocess the evidence. It's not the same markers. You have to have the money
right. So at the same time, when you're doing the swabs, you take a couple swabs and make that kit, and then the other swabs are CODIS,
Yeah, well, that is an idea that people are working on, where you can put it in one machine and then they do both things at one time. That would be great.
Oh, that would be freaking sweet. That's what I would say.
Yep. So we're, people, you got to let the system work on it, and now, until now, you always needed an STR to confirm, like we talked about. But recently, SNPs now, the genealogy has been, or SNPs have been ruled admissible in court. So in the future, probably you just need the SNP testing. You may not need the CODIS to go all the way through.
Sorry, I'm gonna gift some memberships here. Hold on.
What are you doing there?
I'm giving.
I'm looking at all the comments while you're doing that. Okay. Oh, okay. I see. All right.
I'm giving 5 memberships like Georgina did right there.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
So let's see. Here we go. Gifted 5. Who's got them? Who's going to get them? Who's going to get them? Ding, 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 ding. Here we go. And the first one is Regina Wright. She got one. A Blasty Pow Pow got one. Shelly Pink got one. Brown Eyed Girl. I thought you already were one. Both of you guys. And then, is that it? Yeah, that's all 5 right there. Mrs. C, too.
Congratulations, people.
You guys are the technical official freaks, even though everybody's freaks that watch the channel. But
yeah, okay, now you made it. It's
a badge. Okay.
Can you find missing family members that are alive? No, because when they go missing, they take their DNA with them. That's a private investigator. We can't. That's a good way of saying it. We can't solve the missing person's case, but we can solve a missing person's case.
Yeah, they do. They just identify who the DNA belongs to. You can't go out. It doesn't magically find somebody that's walking around out there.
Yeah, right. This weird story that they identified this woman. I think it was when we were at DNA Doe. It was Lime Lady, and so she had a small son, and she disappeared. The son thought she ran away, but she had actually been murdered. Nobody knew that. They just knew she disappeared. So we identified her, and we, she was a single mom, so we contacted her parents, which were the boy now grew up, and that would be his grandparents. So he probably didn't know what was going on. So independently, a genealogist comes to him and says, hey, you want to find your birth father? You can take a DNA test to find your birth father. And he goes, oh, okay, I'm interested. He took the DNA test. He uploaded it to Family Tree DNA. The top match was his mother. And it was like, whoa, I thought she abandoned me. Or didn't I hear she was killed? What is her DNA doing? So it had to be explained, but it was kind of a weird thing. He freaked out, What's she doing? Oh, I thought she was murdered.
Well, that's kind of why we want to do the Addison County one, because that's the one that'll lead right to, it's vaguely related to what you just said, but that'll lead right to the killer.
I hope so.
But don't you think it would? Because if they weren't reported missing, you're going to have the child and 2 kids, and then all of a sudden the husband or whatever gets married again or something. Then all of a sudden you got the answer right there.
Yeah, well, there could be other family members still alive, though very old.
Right.
Very old, because they'd have to be young in 1937, so they would be close in their late 80s, which is not, impossible. It's possible. So that's about it,
That's a good DNA. It turns out I'm 100% that. 100% what? Dog DNA tests are a little sketchy, especially when they ask, what breed do you think it is? Yeah, and then, hey, it comes back. Hey, it's a little close. It's right there. We did one on Blue, and it came back with some crazy, they didn't even come close to saying Chihuahua. It's like, that's all he is.
Yeah. Well, big deal. Okay, so you have a Chihuahua. It's...
Yeah, I guess I wanted to figure out, well, the main one was Chloe, because Chloe is supposedly a Yorkshire Terrier and a Chihuahua, and I just wanted to see if it really said that. I think that's the one.
Lizzo must be her dog or cat, so that's up to the dog or the cat to talk about. Why invade the privacy of the dog or the cat? Got to think about that. What is IYKYK?
Invade the privacy of the cat. Yeah.
I don't know. So.
Yeah. Somebody came on earlier and said, I thought this was about the Idaho case, you bastards. And I'm like, hey, she comes on, we talk about stuff. Yeah, you miss it, but we talked for a while on that. But she has more interesting stories than... Yeah,
well, you missed that part. You should have tuned in earlier, see? Don't blame us.
Yeah, that's what they do. They're just really... it's so funny that when the trolls show up, it's just they stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry about that guy copycatting you all the time, Gray. That's awful.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Like, people go, they make excuses like, hey, he didn't... No. I can just tell you, the guy during the Kylie Rodney case, the guy that copied exactly what I did on the show has been copying me on the Idaho 4 case. I just hadn't paid any attention. Literally, like exactly the same things that I'm saying, almost word for word. So it's really frustrating,
Okay, what we're gonna do is listen, you guy. If you're listening, stop copying Gray.
It's just bizarre.
It's not appreciated.
What kind of mindset? What kind of mindset do you have to watch somebody's video and then make one exactly the same and claim it's your own thought? That's just disturbing, sick mentality. Hey, thanks, Mama, for 50 cent rose. Yeah.
Listen, guy, stop copying Gray. I'll kick your butt, and that should scare me.
Oh, there you go. She might build a rocket to shove it up your... just kidding.
Yeah. No, don't say that on air. Now,
a rocket.
How DNA solved the case after he died and solved... No, I don't know about Robert Brashear's. There was another one, Sheep Flat, Jane Doe, that was James Curry. He died, he committed suicide in 1989, and we solved who he was in, this is 2020. So, he's, there are many cases that, have been solved. Even some serial killers, more victims have been found, and, they've solved lots of cases after the guy died. And you have to think, well, that's good, though. But that's good, even if you don't know he's dead until you finished. So, figuring out who, the whole story, so.
Mm-hmm.
And the longer FGG is used, the more cases like that you're going to find. And that's the strength of FGG over CODIS. Because, as time goes on, those early CODIS people are not out there committing crimes, and their relatives are probably gone too. So CODIS, you have a depreciating asset in some regards, where FGG just keeps going. But the strength of CODIS has already been messed with, already squeezed the water out. It's been ruled and missable in court, and it's all been, pretty much understood, streamlined, standardized, and so on. And that's what we depend on these days for the final legal version.
Do you think they'll continue to add markers, and like, I think there used to be like 12, now there's 20, maybe they'll...
I think they'll... I don't think so. I don't know if more markers will make that much difference.
You start getting to a number that's so astronomical that what's the point, really?
Right, the law of diminishing returns. If it doesn't match on 20, adding more markers isn't going to improve that. The thing is, if it doesn't match on 20, what's the chance that you missed him? It's not. If it doesn't match, it doesn't match. If it does match, what's the chance you got it wrong? And after you get a certain number of markers, the chance you got it wrong is not 0, but it's very itsy bitsy.
Yeah, it's like the 20. The odds of not matching, or matching all 20, but they wouldn't have matched if there was another 4 more, is probably more astronomical than saying, 1 octillion to 1. I mean, it's ludicrous, right?
Right. You've got to the point. Law of diminishing returns.
Mm-hmm.
If you do 20, like you're saying, there's 1 in 1 octillion billion that, you got it wrong. Why go through the expense and the time to get all these other markers figured out, standardized, authorized, validated, something or otherized, so you can use a bunch more markers instead of 1 octillion billion. It's 1 octillion octillion.
I guess the one of the things that you could argue, try to figure out, is how are scientists coming up with the percentage of the population on each marker? Like when you go, hey, this marker here shows up 1 in 16,000. Okay, this marker here is 1 in 50. This one here, you know what I mean? So then that starts...
I used to know the answer to that, but there's a couple of ways. You can either project what it is in the population, or you can project what it is in the database that you're using. And in the database would be a conservative number. Versus, I forget how that works, but they do take it into account that, you're really you can't deal with the whole world. You can't test the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
You can only test some of the whole world.
So you check a sample, and then you go on the low end of that, right?
Yeah, well, they look at how many people have a 13 at this marker, and they of all the scientific data they have, it's 1 in so many hundreds, millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure a lot. I'm sort of right on the edge of that. I'm almost understanding it, and it's been explained to me, and then I forgot it. But it is, it could be, it could be a different number, but it's not so much a different number. They did that on Sarah Yarborough. They said, well, if you use the whole world and you project it, it's this. But if you look at the database, it's only 1 in 5 billion instead of 1 in 10 octillion. And you look at each other, you say, well, why in the hell is he worried about that? If it's...
Mm-hmm. Somebody in the comments on one of my videos said, this is crap, man. They had 28 markers that they... and I was like, what are you talking about? And regarding Brian Kohberger, they said, he didn't match 28 markers. And I'm like, that had nothing to do with any... What are you even talking about? There's only 20 in CODIS, and then they used FGG. It doesn't have anything to do with markers. They're not like STR. It's just a sequence, right?
Yeah. And there's a couple of like little funny markers here and there they use, just to prove it's male, or do something else or test. But it's basically 20.
Yeah, for CODIS,
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It's one of those trolls, I guess. I don't know.
It's just there's people out there that they do mental gymnastics to try to make Brian Kohberger innocent in their minds. And it's like this weird phenomenon. It's strange,
Yeah.
I mean, he is innocent right now because he hasn't gone to trial, but I believe he's guilty because of the information that's out there. And but they ignore all of the things that are important. Like if you said, well, why was he moving the trash into the other garbage cans and separating his DNA out? Can you explain that? They always avoid that whole sequence because you can't really explain it in a way that makes any sense at all other than he's hiding.
If it was me, Gray, if it was me, I wouldn't throw my stuff in the garbage. I'd have my own plastic bag carrying around with me just in case, I needed to throw away a Kleenex or a toothpick. I'd put it in, or a can, I'd put it in a little bag. I'd drive 100 miles, I'd throw it away in somebody else's trash can 100 miles away, and then I'd come home.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, well, that's what they might have been saying that. I mean, it's hard to decipher what they meant, but maybe they were saying that he was just sitting on the table and he was putting all of his stuff into different baggies and then placing them in different neighbors' garbage cans. So maybe he did store his own stuff within the house, but used the dining room table as a staging area to put them into different baggies. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. And anyway, he made some mistakes. Even if he's innocent, he still made some mistakes.
Well, also another thing too, like after at 4:20, his vehicle, a white Elantra missing a front license plate, sped away from the crime scene, and then he turned his phone on 28 minutes later, heading away from Moscow south. And I drove the route that he took that's on the probable cause. It is freaky. I put out an hour video, and you're driving on these dirt roads in the middle of absolutely nowhere, trying to make your way back across the Highway 195 to get back into Pullman, because he was trying to avoid being seen on cameras or anybody. I mean, I didn't see a soul in the middle of the day driving that same route. So, I mean, I can't imagine a case that has more information that points to one person than this one. Yeah. It's crazy. It's just...
Well, that's right. I mean, let's say, you look at the evidence, and it has to go through the court of law. So I can't say I think he's guilty.
Because you might
avoid that, but I'd say there is a lot of evidence that is not in his favor. I can say that.
Yeah, in the Delphi case, the attorney they removed the attorneys for Richard Allen, and they put two new attorneys in. One of the attorneys, about 4 or 5 months before he became his attorney, said, "Oh yeah, this gunshot ejection is really damning for Richard Allen," and then all of a sudden he got appointed as one of his attorneys. So that probably won't live well. You know what I mean? It's like,
what's happening? The guy was in custody. Was that Genealogy, or was it? I don't think it was Genealogy. I think
that one was. Somehow they miraculously revisited their database and found that he actually came forward himself, called the tip line, and said, "Hey, I was there that day." That right then. I mean, literally back then, he told somebody, but it never made it into the right, levels of the investigation. But he said he was there. He was wearing exactly the same clothing. He passed these different girls, and he was trying to get ahead of it because they had put out a picture of the guy on the bridge, and he knew that was him. So he was trying to get ahead of it, like, yeah. And if you'd had a cop that was really on top of things, he would have said, "Oh, we know you're there, Richard. Here's the picture. There's a picture right here. That's you, right?" And he would have gone, "Yep." And then he would have arrested him immediately because that was a picture from Libby's camera, not a... You could just pretend that it was a trail camera. But anyways, it's crazy times out there. Crazy times.
Is he going to trial yet?
No, I think that's going to be another year now because they switched attorneys.
So they kind of just caught on to him. That's the story.
That's what they're saying, but I think there's it was so weird because there's these other two guys that were... Listen how crazy this is. Let me tell you this. Just listen to this right here. There's a guy named Keegan Klein that's a catfishing account. Like, he has a catfishing account that he was using, and he was supposed to meet the girls that day, but he only didn't get to meet them because some other random killer killed them. So a catfishing sexual predator didn't get to meet them because a random killer was there. I mean, so they're saying they're not connected somehow, but and this killer and the predator had a Dropbox account that other predators were using, and I keep wondering if that's how Richard Allen knew to be there that day. It's hard to get past that for me, but
okay.
But they're not saying that at all. They're saying they can't find a connection between the two. It's like, well, what was he doing?
Okay, you mean the catfisher and Richard Allen?
Yeah. So exactly. So there's this catfishing account, and that catfishing account was factually communicating with Libby that weekend and everything. And then after they went missing, one of the friends that also was communicating with, it was Anthony Schott's profile, but it was Keegan Klein was the one who created this fake profile. And he said, "Oh yeah, wow, I was supposed to meet him that day, and they never showed up." So he was going to meet them. They never showed up because some unknown random killer I have a hard time believing that one.
Yeah. So
You know?
what do you not believe? You think that it was a pool of catfish?
Well, I think Keegan Kline, the catfisher, had a Dropbox account that when they investigated it led to one of the largest pedophile rings in Indiana state history. And then here you got this guy that randomly shows up hustling, almost like he knew that Abby and Libby were going to be there, and then he kills them on the other side. I mean, it's just, to me, that's hard to believe that he didn't have some sort of connection to the Dropbox account.
Well, they have to have his email and his phones, and they have to have their emails, the little girl's email. They have to have a lot, there's a lot of metadata there. That
But like he could have been using burner phones to get, or just even in person talking about the, somebody says, hey, there's these two girls. I talked to them here. They were in this Dropbox thing or whatever, and he goes out there.
Yeah.
It's possible, too, that he was turned in, by perhaps a family member. I'll just leave it out there. I sort of heard something about that. So it's possible he was turned in by a family member.
It's a small town, and he was a pharmacist, a well-known person. So, it could have been just somebody said, hey, you look just like that guy. I don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, except he's got a lot. There's they have his vehicle pulling up at right around, I think it was 1:30. It pulls up, and he said that's when it pulled up. And then he walks by these three girls. He's trapped in this. There's this hole in the investigation. So he parks his car, and then he passes these four girls when they're leaving, and they saw him, and he admits to seeing them. And then he walks down and he goes to the bridge, and he says he's standing on platform 1 on the bridge. He's standing there. And then this other lady goes there to go exercise, walks up to the bridge, sees him standing on platform 1. And then when she turns around, she passes Abby and Libby, who had just been dropped off. And next person they run into is going to be that guy on the bridge. Jeez, Jenny, Jesus. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. That's great.
Hey, wow, that's really cool.
It's really generous of you.
Thank you.
So, wait, the lady doing the exercise.
So she got there. Okay, so Richard Allen gets there at about 1:30, but it takes him about 15 minutes to walk to the start of the bridge. So that's about 1:45. This other lady pulls up to the parking area that's closer at 1:40. I think it's 1:46 if I remember right. And then she parks, gets out, and then walks down the trail towards the bridge. And then Abby and Libby get dropped off at like 1:48 or 9. My memory isn't quite perfect right now, but they start walking the trails too. So this one girl, the first girl, walks all the way to the bridge and sees Richard Allen standing there, and then turns around and walks back, and then passes Abby and Libby, who then are going to run into the guy standing on platform 1 where Richard Allen said he was standing exactly when he got there. I mean, so he's got all these things that are just point to him. I think. Yeah.
Wouldn't that woman, then the exercise lady, she would have said, hey, I just saw Richard Allen on the bridge.
Well, she didn't know it was Richard Allen, but she said she saw a guy wearing the blue jeans. She didn't know his name or anything at the time.
Oh, yeah. She wasn't a local.
Yeah, and the weird part is she says the guy she saw is the guy in the pictures, but her sketch that she came up with is a younger person. So everyone's really focused in on that, but the other four girls said the guy on the bridge is the same person they saw walking too. So it's like, I don't see, there's no out for him, there's a whole bunch of other stuff too, but if you see how it all plays out, he is the guy on the bridge in the video. He even describes himself wearing exactly the same clothing.
Yeah. Somebody said, Amy says, I believe the policeman reread the case notes and found his call and started to ask questions. That could happen.
That's what they said, but that's not really, like they just went and revisited and they went, wow, how did we miss this one?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think there's more to it. I think what happened was somehow a tip led to the name, And they went back and said, well, we've talked to every male in Delphi, and they went through, found it in a, how do we miss this? He said he was there even, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. Well, I think that something like that happened. I don't think it was genealogy, because I think what I heard is the DNA was mixed. You know, there's a mixture or something. They didn't have a whole lot of DNA.
I think that's what it was. It was a low. They had very few markers or something.
Yeah, but it still could
include him.
Could still, try circumstantial evidence, and he said something like that, and they identified him. The eyewitnesses probably identified him later, and then and independently identified him. And then they may have had enough DNA to have some of the markers, you know, or something.
Yeah, so let's say they found 5 markers out of the 12 at the time, and all 5 matched. That's pretty, that's circumstantial evidence. You do the same math, right? You multiply it up. And, but also, this is one piece I left out, was they found an unspent bullet in between Abby and Libby, right? So it was unspent, and it turns out that the ejection marks match Richard Allen's gun that he had at his house.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
So that's a better piece of information, right?
That's another, piece of evidence there. And, I don't know if they could get DNA off the bullet. They do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Not all the time.
I think that'd be interesting if they could.
Right.
But how you doing? Are you pretty tired?
Yeah, I'm kind of worn out. We've had our marathon. I was going to say I'm getting kind of tired. You can tell I look like 10 years older. My cheeks are like on the floor now, and I'm like, my hair is a little bit grayer than when I first started the evening. No, I'm getting tired. How long do you usually chat for?
I usually do like 3. I try to do like 3-hour shows. So right now is 3 hours.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap up and kiss.
Yeah.
Yes,
well, I'll stay on for a couple of extra minutes, but I appreciate you coming on. Put a 1 if you just thought that was awesome. Wasn't that just amazing?
Well, it's making up for lost time, because I was.
You got 3 shows worth into 1. There you go.
Yeah, I was just that, I was traveling so much, and I haven't been around, and I'm sorry. I love doing this, and sometimes I have to say, look, I'm ready to drop dead. I'm so sorry, freaks. I've got to go. And
look at all those. Look at all those 1s in there. Look at it's like it's a freaking auctioneer.
That 1 is good. It means.
Yeah, I said put a 1 if you thought that was awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's good. And Misty said hi. And she's sitting. She's probably just sitting there listening. While she's doing mom type things. Like, I don't know, knitting, repairing socks. What do you do when you're a mom?
You make sweet potatoes,
Yeah, you make sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, for the next kids' lunch for the next day, Oh, there she is. We can't talk about her. She's there. Okay,
yeah,
but
I was just about to say something mean, but there she is. Forget it.
Well, she's making sweet potatoes for the kids' lunch on Monday.
Oh, that's right, yeah. They actually put it now in a toothpaste holder, and you just kind of squeeze it into your mouth. It's it's really good.
Sweet potato chewing gum.
Like you hold it
sweet
like
potato chewing gum.
Yeah. Oh, sweet potato chewing
potato
gum.
Chewing gum.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Sweet potato souffle. Sweet potato. Omelet. Sweet potato. Candied yams. Sweet potatoes.
It's the same. I mean, I think to me they're sort of the same thing, though. Like to me,
yams are okay. Yams are like red potatoes.
Just not candied yams.
But candied yams is a different species of food.
Yeah, I think of sweet potatoes and candied yams as sort of the same thing.
Sweet potato fries. Hey, I'm getting hungry. I might go get me some of those. Where can I get some in the middle of the night?
Yeah. So some people say they're better. Okay. I think of them as the same. I avoid that at all costs. I eat Thanksgiving. I have gravy, turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, and I do have a little bit of the cranberry on the side, but it's just kind of like I've got to,
I make a gluten-free Thanksgiving with the exception of homemade crescent rolls, croissants.
Oh. And
that's the only exception. And people bring, sometimes people bring something I can't eat, but that's fine. So turkey dressing is fantastic. I have the turkey, the dressing, somebody brings sweet potatoes, not me. We have regular potatoes, lots of carbs, that's the day for carbs and salads and veggies, and there's a chocolate covered brandied apricots is my pièce de résistance for dessert every year. It's very
Wow.
easy to make. But don't tell anybody I told you that. So.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, anyways, hey, listen, it was awesome having you here, and I mean, everybody loves all the stories, and you have a million of them, so you never run out of. Yeah, you can't help it when you've actually done them. So.
When you get tired, just slap me electronically, and I'll shut up and let you talk. It's.
Well, I was just thinking, you seem like you're starting to get tired a little bit.
Well, I don't mean to look that way, but I am.
Well, no, I mean, I'm tired myself. I'm just saying I can tell, so I didn't want to.
Yeah, all the jokes aren't as funny,
Well,
so.
yeah, at least it's not like Misty. Misty's over there, literally, eyes closed with her head on a pillow on screen here. It's like.
Yeah, and she's like just listening in, thinking she's falling asleep, dreaming of candied yams. Yeah,
I've seen Misty over there going like this.
She was with me with that carrot episode, when I had. Oh, don't judge you. Okay.
Don't judge
She was
me.
with me during the carrot episode, and everybody was pointing to me and going, "Look at how many carrots she's eating." And I couldn't help it. There was nothing else to eat. There weren't even candied yams available.
They must have thought you looked kind of funny over there, just munching.
Everybody's saying, "What are you, some kind of rabbit or something?" I said, "No, I'm just hungry. I can't eat anything else."
Your skin probably turned orange after that.
Yeah, I know. It was awful, but see, that's why I travel with a mobile food supply. I was just caught unawares at this dinner that, they have the big steam tables and what's gluten-free? Oh, nothing tonight. Okay, thank you. Excuse me while I go get a pizza.
Well, I think there's a lot of people in here that are just finally seeing you for the first time, because a lot of times it was just sort of the regular freaks, but I put out a couple videos mentioning that you're coming on, so
Oh, really? Oh, I attracted attention.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
we had 400 and something people watching. Sometimes we only have 200, so.
Oh my God,
pretty good.
I doubled
Pretty good.
viewership.
There you
Okay.
go. So.
Well, send us your cases. Give us, and Jenny, don't forget to send us info about what happened.
Yeah.
And we'll have a look at it. We may not be able to help you, but we'll look at it. I promise.
Yeah, send it to me, and then I'll forward it on, since you got my email.
Yes, do that. Please do.
All right.
Don't forget.
Well, hey, thanks for coming on. It's always awesome. We'll see you soon, all right? And thanks for the updates. Oh, wow. Let me see. I can almost do it. I shall do neither, for I've killed my captain and my friend. Don't you remember that episode? Yeah, anyway.
No.
Okay. Jeez. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you. We'll see you later.
Okay. Bye,
Have a good
guys.
one.
I'll see y'all later. Bye,
right.
freaks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. And there we go. Boom. Hey. And thank you so much, Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick, for coming on. It was awesome. And thank you, all of you, for being here. Let's see. How do I get to the... Oh, there you go. Yeah, and what I say often, like when I'm doing my shows, everybody, when people are supporting the channel, supporting my channel, and it also supports a lot of the charities that I choose to donate to from the income from my channel. It's not like, hey, everybody, we are raising money for a specific charity. Now, if you want to donate directly to anybody out there, like you could donate to Identifinders on your own, you could donate to NICMAC, you could donate to RAIN, Texas Equisearch, etc., etc. But if you want to help support me so I can keep doing the shows, and knowing that I pool it all together so it's a bigger chunk, like at the end of the month, I've given 3,000 multiple times to Identifinders at the end of each month. This last month just 2, and then the month before 1,000, because that was a pretty slow month there. But hopefully this month, do a couple more. We just got 2,000 in a few days ago, so maybe even do 3 if we have a great month. Who knows? And so I think it's cool because we are one of the few YouTube channels out there that actually make a difference, like literally a tangible difference. And I also think the way that I cover true crime makes a difference too, because it's taking the factual information in the case and trying to collate it into a order that makes sense to people. This actually makes sense, everybody. This is what you do. You put it together, and you're more likely to be accurate. I mean, look how accurate we were in the Soto case that we just did. I mean, that was like nailed it, I'd say 95%. Where other people are going, ooh, now let's try to figure out what kind of the gangs that were. I mean, just look at what you got, work with that, and you'll be really, really close. Okay? I know conspiracy theories are more entertaining and more fun, but, it's not really a good idea. Hey, thanks, Misty. So, anyways, let me thank everybody here. And, special thanks out there to Jenny, is it Jacob? Is that how you say that? Or Jacome? Or I appreciate it. So then it's Kendra B, new member, Eugenie, Plato, thank you, Eugenie, Plato, Circuit then Chris 22, Pam NYC, Georgina Stoliker, Timothy Cecil, Amber Maiden, Sandy Shirley, Peter Dan Burrell, Michelle H, Georgina Stoliker, Cindy Leon, Plato, Amber Maiden, Linda Howell, as in Linda Molden Howe of the Cattle Mutilations and Crop Circles, Georgina Stoliker, Paulette Leonard, Sirius Black, let's see what else. Oh, then Kubi, and then Jenny Jacob with a quadruple cat eye on the first one, and then Jessica Schubach, Mark Willis, and we almost made the goal on, like, if you had taken Jenny out, we were just a few dollars short of the goal, right? And then Mark Willis and Cheryl Bullock, Jessica Schubach, Katja T, Lisa Wilkerson, and then Georgina gifted a membership. Then I gifted 5 memberships. Then Katja T and Mama 457 Rose, and then Jenny Jacob with a 6 times cat eye, and then Lucy also gifted 5 memberships. So I guess with the membership gifting by you guys, we would have made the goal anyways. So there you go. What happened, Jenny? What happened? What? Yeah. Let's see. Awesome night and show. Hey, thanks, Holly, Miranda, Holly. Proud to be a freak. Yeah. And make sure you send me that case, Jenny. Blasty, pow. There's a show here every night. Yeah, so what do you guys think of that? I mean, I just think it's so fun, when she's on. It's just like hanging out with a buddy, but she's really smart and has amazing stories and everything. And thank you, Katja T. Ding, 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 ding. Anyways, a special shout out there again to Jenny. Am I saying your name right, though? Is it? How do you say your last name phonetically? Anybody know? Jacob or? Yeah, thanks for coming out again, Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick. And also you too, Misty Gills, for hanging out in the chat. Yeah. Well, hey, Cindy, just let me do my own thing, man. I hate when you type in stuff like that. God, I already think of all those things. You don't need to be telling me. Okay, so it's Hakim, like that? Hakim? Oh, yeah, so it's a Spanish pronunciation. I don't know why you do that, Cindy. It's just sort of like, it's none of your business what I do with... So anyways, yeah, send me an email, if you would, Jenny. And I was going to say, if you give me your address, I'll send you the book. But Cindy always jumps in ahead of anybody being able to just do it every time. Oh, you don't care? Yeah, so give me your address. I'll send you the Chloe. Here's what you get right here. So you get the Chloe notebook with the GHI on it. Then in the back of it has the GHI sticker in there, but I'll give you a sticker anyways. And then you get the stress ball right here. This one, Right? And then you also get the blue freak pen, if I flip it around correctly there. There you go, right there. Come on, Cindy, Jesus. Just every once in a while. Let me just think on my own, okay? I agree with you, though, Cindy. I agree, okay? What do you think of the show, Cindy? Do you like it? Yeah. I said the new sticker, yeah. There's a sticker, stress ball. Oh, yeah, by the way, look at these. I'm thinking of getting these in bulk. So check it out, look at it. How cool is that, huh? It's on the mug, but it's from a different company. I think that's pretty awesome. So what we could do is maybe I'll do something where you order a mug at some point for a certain amount, and you get the freak, stress ball inside the mug or something, and maybe a pen or something. I mean, does it fit in there? Yeah, who knows, right? Yeah, I think it's a sweet mug, though. It'd be cool to have a black mug, too, with a, I don't know, it'd be hard to get the rim of the magnifying glass on there. Yeah, that's my logo. See up in the corner there? But I think even the black would look cool. See how that looks like? Let's just move that. Is that movable? But see how it looks on black? You can still see that there's something there because of the shine on there. And does it have it on there? Yeah, so even the mug has that shiny part of the rim, so yeah. Yeah, so a black mug, I think, might look cool exactly the way it is there. Yeah. I mean, I can do other things too. Like I can make the fingerprint white, and then the red lettering or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, thank you guys very much for supporting the channel tonight. I really appreciate it, and definitely be sending a big chunk of money, probably in the thousands at the end of the month, to Identifinders again, because we got more cases to do. We got to do at least, hopefully do like 3 cases this year at least. I mean, it's like $18,000-$20,000. Sometimes they're more expensive because you have to redo things. So, it's all. I do the shows. I'm doing more videos now, trying to get the ad revenue to help augment the channel. So hopefully that will work out. We'll see how it goes. Did you guys like the video that I made earlier today? The paranoid Kohberger? I mean, I think that guy was just probably shitting his pants when he got pulled over twice. From gardening. Came in late. Do you live in Hawaii or something? I was in Walgreens last night and was listening to your channel, and some guy asked me, "Is that Grant Hughes?" I was like, "Yeah." Oh, come on. No way, man. That's crazy. Yeah. But I was trying to say it earlier. There's this YouTuber out there who really has no way to think for himself and come up with original content. So what he's done, you guys want to see something incredible? You know how this let me show you on the screen really quick. I want to show you this. You see how I have this route right here? The looping, I came up with it myself. This is what I came up with. The route. This is what made sense to me, that he would take this route. I was there, I did it, right? See that? Here, just a second. And then I was watching this guy's channel, and look what's on his screen. Look at this. Do you see that? He put it on there, and he made it look, pretending that he came up with it himself. How is that even possible? And then he did the camera behind 500 Queen Road, and kept showing it coming around, and he put the clock up there and say, look, now this one's faster. And that's exactly what I did months ago and weeks ago. Okay? And it's just, it actually makes me really, really angry, because I spend a lot of time and I think through these things and I come up with them on my own. And this idiot, that's all he does, is steal other people's content, but he pretends that he thinks of it as on his own. And I actually wonder if he does it intentionally to, I don't know, man. He's just an absolute asshole. Okay, that's all I can tell you. He is a horrific person, despite what he tries to pretend on it, on the show. And it's not just this one. It's over and over and over again. God, look at that. Look at this thing right here. It's exactly the same thing that I came up with on my own. And so you notice how he doesn't really know it very well, so he just kind of draws it in there. Right. And then he has a car, like a stupid animated car, driving around at an angle that doesn't even look good. You know, like pasted on top of it. Just absolutely copying, stealing my content, and it's okay. And then, you know the part about the towel in the surveillance video footage in the Soto case? This is how I went and checked, because I was like, man, this guy used to always copy. Let me go look. First thing I see is him making a video. Oh, wait, no, that's not what it was. In my video today, the press conference on the Soto case, somebody said, well, to be fair, this other guy, he talked about the towel too. And I went, oh, God, there's no way he thought of that on his own. I shoot over there, and guess what? His video on the towel was the 30th. And I talked about it on the 28th, the same night that the surveillance footage came out. You remember that? So then I saw that and I go, oh crap, here we go. Watch this. So I went and looked around, and lo and behold, there it is. Absolute plagiarism of my shows, my videos, on his live streams, pretending that he came up with it himself. What a just pile of crap, you know? So anyways, that's all I got to say. You know, it's one of those things that stresses you out, because people watching him think he's so clever. And so that intellectual property right there that you came up with on your own got hijacked, and he's getting the credit by his viewers who think he thought of it. And that guy couldn't think his way out of a shoebox. Okay, and that is the reality. All right, you guys. Well, thank you very much for the support on the channel tonight. Again, thank you, Jenny there. Send me your article or your information on your case, and then I'll forward it on to Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick and see what happens. You never know. You just never know. But if you don't try, then there's no chance. Okay. So thank you all very much. I hope you really enjoyed talking to or listening to Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick. But doesn't it feel like you're just talking to her? Like she's just right there and you're just like, yeah. And then she responds to some of your comments and everything. I think it's just so fun. I mean, sometimes like when I'm here and I talk to her on the phone, we'll just be talking just like that for like an hour. You know, we're just like going on and she's just, you know, I don't know, she kind of feels like a family member or something. I mean, I was excited when I saw that I had 2 Fitzpatricks on my Jed match. And she says, nope, not related. I've never found a Fitzpatrick in my family on Jed match. So anyways, that's it. All right, you guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for listening to me, my little rant on that absolute just sick ass human. I mean, just ridiculous. I can't believe he does it. So, I mean, how do you wake up in the morning and be proud of yourself when you just absolutely copied somebody else? Wow. Yeah. All right. I digressed. Thank you guys very much. We will see you tomorrow. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.
Hey, Gray, where are you going? Where are you going, Gray?
True crime thing for
Well,
quite
the
a
show's
while
over,
now.
Mary Lou.
But I want to keep going, gee. Why would somebody steal your material, though?
Now, there's a lot of really crappy people in the world, Mary Lou.
Human lie detector. Gonna get ya.
That's for
Gonna
sure.
get ya if you try and play me like an old projector.
Crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector. And I'm always gonna be a protector. Fool deflector, interceptor. And I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector.
On his spectre, with all respect, y'all.
Just remember,
I'm a temple fucking
Jack Shaw.
I have no
Agenda, I have a tender. And I'll serve it to you straight without the blender.
And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you.
Hey everybody, I hope you have a great night, okay? And what I'd really like to talk about was, you see, this one time I was going down the street and it,
Would you just let the... We're trying to get the show over with Mary Lou, okay?
gosh, Gray, that isn't very nice. I wanted to tell my story.
Oh my God. Tell us about those candied yams you ate.
Oh, I hate those things, Gray. Good night, everybody.
Wow. Okay, Mary Lou. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. And, nanu. Be safe out there.